For our Canadian lifters, pure passion, real results, what you put in your body should matter. Pure Vita Labs PVL supplements are clean, tested, and approved, powering athletes for over 25 years. They also power the KOTL podcast. You could trust PVL. Use code KOTL15 for partnership pricing at pvl.com. Okay, so we're just saying you were doing your setup. So I was just asking why everybody over 50 has to shoot from down the boom. Everyone knows what the boomer view is. And you just said your dad doesn't even have a phone.
I love how this is how we're gonna start the podcast. It's talking about my own father's technical inaptitude. Yeah, he doesn't own a phone. I don't know.
That's wild. How does like you mean like a mobile phone or even like a straight up house phone at the house?
I mean, yeah, we have a house phone, but like my mom mostly uses that. Like he just doesn't have one. Like he doesn't really use one at all.
So he doesn't have a mobile phone.
No, he only just started using like a laptop recently. I love this is how we're starting it. I was gonna ask you if there's gonna be like an intro if you wanted to like do your spiel and then like tag me in. We're just throwing
Playboy
hot into the fire.
We're just gonna jump in this pool. It's nice and warm, man. Nice and warm. Friggin' so I'm older, man. When I first got my first phone, I was like fucking in my late 20s, man. But to be pushing, like how old's your dad?
Like 65, 66.
Okay. All right. I respect that. I mean, life would be so different if we didn't have phones.
Oh yeah, I mean the Industrial Revolution and its consequences, you know. But my dad's free from that. He doesn't have to worry about the 5Gs attacking his brain or anything. He's good to go. He's gonna survive when the rest of us are dead.
When we perish. Yeah, man, I don't know. Frig. I have mixed feelings about it. When I hear people like who minimize how much social media they have and everything, like for sure, 100%, I get it. Especially like you could be stuck on your phone. Like I've talked to people during the podcast. I'm looking them dead in their eyes and they'll be talking and every now and then just like checking some shit. I'm like, my man, could you just wait like an hour? Like, like it becomes so addictive. They got to check it.
In their defense, though, you have a pretty prolific podcast. You interview some, we can just use the term, they're influencers, right? So like for them, I feel like they have a much better excuse because for some parts it's business, right? Like being addicted to your phone is just being addicted to work in some regards. So
that's it's true. And I also, without social media, none of like our infrastructure as a sport is crazy strong due to all the influencers we have. Like I've talked about on the podcast before, like other niche sports like freaking water polo don't have influencers like freaking Russell Ortiz background and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, I think we're losing your video here. There.
I don't know.
It's okay. It's all good.
It's been too much of a mess to set up.
Yeah, fuck it. If your audio comes or video comes in and out, that's fine. As long as your audio is good, let me know if we pause and I can always pause the recording. But yeah, going on about the social media and the impact. Our sport is built off of that infrastructure, but I don't know. How do you feel about it? Because you're not on, I look for you on TikTok. You're not on TikTok. You're a young dude. You would be, but 23 for TikTok is probably old though, right? I don't know. Is it?
I feel like I'm in like that uncanny valley where it's like, I'm not. Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm too old maybe for like the TikTok demographic, if only by very slightly. But I mostly just I don't actually like social media that much in terms of using it for influencing, if you will. Sort of, I need to be cautious here not to sound like I'm putting down any influencers because like I know some of them are my friends. I highly respect it as like a business choice, but like it definitely is not for me. So I'm not on TikTok because I feel like you very much play and game the algorithm there, and that isn't something I'm remotely interested in doing. I mean, like, you know my Instagram. Yeah. It's stupid.
Meat and potatoes, man.
It's
actually, you joke around though. The thing is, you have a sense of humor in like, I guess yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I also, man, I'm not fucking big on the TikTok neither. Like I'll drop things and whatnot, but I'm not necessarily like, I respect people who do their damn thing, but I tried for a little while to like do commentary over videos and whatnot. but it's difficult for me to like fake enthusiasm. Like when I commentate on for real live streams, that's real. Like the way I'm talking now, I'm an energetic talker for real. Like, well, you met me in real life, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
turkey.
yeah, exactly. So it is what it is. So when I talk on live stream, I'm like, oh, like Nick is loading up for gold. He's bypassing silver, bypassing bronze, straight to gold. And then when you load up, I'm like, that's legit. But if I already know what happened, the whole nine, and when I do try to speak over a video, and then put it on TikTok, but manufacture my excitement or manufacture something, it's difficult for me, man. It's not as authentic as like a podcast or commentary and stuff like that. That's where I don't shine. And that's where TikTok, for my avenue, it's difficult for me to jump in unless, I don't know. What do you think? You paused right now. So I don't know if you're hearing me or you didn't hear anything I said. Well, okay, we're probably okay. Did you? Okay, so picking up what was I saying there? Where do you think we? You know what? I'll just start off what I was saying about TikTok. So here's my thing with TikTok. Um, I can appreciate like some people put in like for real time. There's some people on here like there are comedians on there that have like really good videos that are hilarious, right? Then there's some people on there who got videos and not so much, right? But they're trying. It is what it is. Initially, it started off and it was like dancing and whatnot, and some of it good, some of it bad, but wasn't fully like I don't really give a shit about hopping on an app to watch people dance all day. I'm not going to spend much time watching you dance. I don't care that much about you. Better be a damn good moonwalker, crip walker to get me watch you dance. You know what I mean? So it's developed though since then, since it first came out, obviously. Like now it's turned into a platform where some people are doing for real skits. You got people who are famous like Kevin James. Are you familiar with Kevin James, the actor?
Not really, no.
Well, he's a comedic actor. He was on like King of Queens, the sitcom moves that was big for years, and like he's a comedic actor anyways, and they'll drop like tons of money, like budget, into like small skits essentially, and they're like comedy sketch, whatever. So I got you, but some of it, and now so powerlifters have started to mold in and creating content that's kind of funny, some of it parody style. It's finding its way. But in terms of what I do, I was talking about, like, for instance, you could show a video and you could comment on it. Now, so I'm a commentator, obviously. And when I comment on like the live streams, that's legit on the fly. I feel that. And I'm saying what I'm seeing. Like when you load up at Junior Worlds, you're bypassing silver, you're bypassing bronze, you're pulling for gold. And I'm like, oh, Nick's coming out, putting all his chips to the middle of the table, and he's going for the gold. Either it's all or nothing going out on his shield. And I'm like legit excited. Now, if I take that clip and I speak on it afterwards, it's difficult for me to fabricate excitement if it's not there, if I've already seen it or whatever, or to stuff like that. Like I am an on the fly actual emotion. Like that's why podcasts are good for me, because this is real. It's legit. I'm not, my excitement, my energy, I'm a high energy guy. Anyways, this is actually how I talk. This is actually how I feel. And I'll go into conversation with people, deep conversation, whatever. It's all, but it's be different for me. Not to say I can't, but that's kind of a little bit of TikTok. Sometimes you got to there's different lanes, but people are developing it and getting creative. Like I see some people with some shit that's funny. And I'm like, okay, that's good. I actually enjoy that. Others that I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm not sure. And sometimes just lifting with music over it and whatever. I'm not sure, man. What do you think?
I can't accurately speak exclusively on TikTok too much because not only am I not on it as like I don't use it like at all. I don't just have like a non-active profile. I just don't even use the app. So, I mean, I see snippets obviously because I think that all social media bleeds through itself. So like obviously you're gonna get a lot of it through like IG Reels and all that. Like I think that the culture very much seeps through. So I'm at least connected enough through Instagram that I think I have like a decent taste for what TikTok lifting sort of looks like. And maybe I am getting old at 23. Maybe it's the gatekeeper in me, but I don't really like it. I don't know. I feel like there's a difference between sort of there's presenting good lifting and then there's just good lifting. I definitely came up during a time with YouTube where, the big videos were just like Pete Rubish just lifting, the classics,
Right.
right? There's no presentation, there's no editing. It's just a
Mhm.
dude lifting. And then I guess like the more that you're in the sport and the more that you watch and the more that you get like involved with it, you kind of really stop caring about like the frills of editing, presentation, the jokes before and after. I kind of just want to see the lifts. And I think Instagram supports that a lot more. Maybe it isn't so much algorithm, so much as just community. But, watching Instagram lifters, for the most part, you just see the lifts. And
Mm.
I find that a lot more interesting. Whereas I find that like through TikTok or maybe even just Instagram Reels, guys that really focus and hone in on that, they put so much more emphasis on presenting the lift as almost more impressive than it is. And to me, it feels sort of like unearned hype, if that makes sense. If you have like this extremely edited video, you flash the numbers on there, you have it like zoomed in, 7 different camera angles, and it's like a 600-pound pull. Like, don't get me wrong, like in a commercial gym, that's impressive. I just don't care.
Right.
Like, um, so I don't know. To me, it all feels very like unearned, but that probably has to do with like a lot of my own upbringing in the sport and always feeling like I've had to earn something. And again, like I alluded to, just being very gatekeepy about it. I don't know. I feel a bit like a cantankerous old man at the gym. I see kids like, they might hear this. Oh, who cares? They set up their fucking tripods to like film. Not a lot. And then they get all like extremely hyped. I saw one kid taking like a selfie on the deadlift platform
Oh
and he
shit.
pulled like 3 reds, which is cool, but I don't know. It just feels like you're really you're trying to elevate yourself to a level of importance that I don't feel that you've like genuinely earned.
It's almost like so I'm from it's weird, man. So everything I just said, I'm older, right? So I was around when reality TV was big and there was no like Instagram was like just starting, no TikTok. YouTube was only 5 years in, and I was on a reality TV show, and reality TV was big at the time. And so it's weird, like when I was saying about fabricating, I was legitimately six-pack Lapadat on the show, but um they would sometimes tell me what to say. And they would sometimes, I know what it's like to like be you, but not be you on the camera. And it was it's weird. And I was the guy too. Like, they don't even do this anymore, I don't think. But when we watched television before the streaming services, when you watch TV, because you had to be there at 9 on Tuesday to watch the show. Like, that's the way television used to be, right? I know you're younger, but there was like a time, but that was it. You catch it at 8, or you got to wait till next week. And there was commercials, and then when the holidays rolled around, it would be like from all of us at OLN, happy holidays. Dog, that was me. I was like six-pack Lapadat, and from all of us. And I was the guy from City TV, from all of us City TV. I was in Toronto. They brought me down to like the studio. I did like a round of, they call it a press junket, where just the press, you stay in the room and new press comes in every hour and you do an interview. Went on the rooftop for one. Then I went to the studio in the afternoon, shot a couple of commercials, went home, and they shit like that. And I remember what it was like to be like you, but not you. And it's produced in the whole nine. And it felt kind of weird. It wasn't like terrible. I know what you mean, where it's like, so my point is, now everybody is a reality TV star on their own channel, and everybody
Exactly.
is, yes. And they're all doing that to an extent.
Except, and this might be like an extremely niche analogy, but do you know like Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares?
Yeah.
So there is the American version and there's the UK version. And if you've ever watched the two different, they're extremely different. The US one feels disingenuous. It is over edited. There's sound effects all the time. He'll eat like a burger and it has like that horror string go on. The UK version is a lot more toned down. It feels a lot more real. It's just sort of like, okay, we're gonna go look at a restaurant, we're gonna fix it. And I
Mm.
think that, yeah, we've definitely shifted towards that sort of more like US reality TV as opposed to like, I don't want to call UK reality TV genuinely reality because I've watched Love Island. That it's insane. But away from sort of just like presenting reality as reality. Yeah, it's
Mm.
gotten overproduced. It starts to feel disingenuous and artificial.
And you don't feel like you get a good measure of the person actually. They've cultivated a person. There's people who definitely are cultivating personalities online. I'm not necessarily against all of this either. Like when I say this, because we're talking in such broad terms, someone could mention somebody and I'm like, well, actually, I like that person's content. It's not just across the board, because there's some people's that I do. Like I'm an MMA guy, and Chael Sonnen for sure is
Oh
a
yeah. Oh
over the
yeah.
top. Like he's like
He's a
leaning into
heel.
being the bad guy. Right.
Yeah.
He's a super duper heel. And it's not real. I've seen him on other podcasts where he's way more toned down normal. He's probably still kind of a antagonistic type of guy, but he's really plays it up on the podcast. But I'm like entertained, but I know what I'm getting. I'm like kind of there for it. So I'm not totally against it, but I do know what you mean where sometimes it's a little too much. Sometimes you're like, man, everyone thinks they're a star or which isn't for our sport. Has the flip side, it has helped our sport grow, and through massive growth, with massive followings comes like sponsorship deals. And Sheffield's gonna, if some of these personalities are Sheffield and the numbers are lovely, more money comes in, people are flying in to watch, and it's like, fuck, there's both, right? There's like, I don't know. I don't want to be the guy who's like, I like this garage band, but if everyone else starts liking the band, I don't like them anymore. I
don't want to gatekeep too aggressively.
Right.
And yeah, don't get me wrong. I love the characters. I wish we had more heels. I kind of wanted to be a heel at one point, and then I got too many warnings from like my governing body being like, "That's a code of conduct violation." So I was like,
really,
"Okay, my bad."
why? What do you in terms of like the Chael Sonnen style heel, or what do you think?
Yeah. So like, I think at a high level, those kind of characters are so fun in powerlifting. I think if like there was any sort of local level lifter trying to be a heel, I would just look at it and it would be kind of funny. But like against them, like laughing, not with them. But like at a high level, like when Pug the Goat, when Ricky Cho was actually like potentially able to contest against Taylor and he was talking all that smack, I loved it. I loved that. I mean, obviously he didn't show up, so it was
It
kind of
did
like,
work
oh,
out, but he did make it spicy. He was one of the
yeah.
first. He was one of the first that like, because that's like 2019.
He was one of the last as well. I mean, who else has really tried to play heel since? I feel like everyone at the top, right? Like look at Sheffield. Who was actually trying to play heel? I feel like every single one of those guys, either genuine or as a character, is just very nice and genuine. I think the one that really tried to play it up was maybe Atwood.
I was gonna say he's here and there got into it with like Bob Matthews and Rondell.
I think Atwood tried to do that, and this is pure speculation. I mean, I'm gonna see him at Malta probably, and I hope that he doesn't hear this and he just like smacks the shit out of me for it. But I have a feeling that he was talking himself up for himself, less as like a character as like a heel, and more like, look, if I believe I can do it, I can do it. And I can't like show any weakness. I think that was purely because he knew that he was injured and he was coming in for a subpar performance. And he was like, okay, I need to do this for me. But a heel that's actually there to just talk shit for the sake of it, we haven't had one. I don't know if we even can have one. I don't think our sport really allows for that. It's too community oriented.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
We don't really have like sort of, it's not like a fan focused sport so much it is a community focused sport. So if anyone is a heel, they don't really get fans because then you're just talking shit to the same people that try to support you, and you get hated. So like we don't have anyone that's willing to just like be that guy.
Also, like it's pretty tight community. You're right. You burn bridges, doors close on you, and you're like, right. It's tough. It's not like Yeah,
Or
yeah.
you just tell everyone you're playing a character and then they don't care because it's like, okay, you're not being genuine anyways.
It's like I'm just well, we got a little bit of heat between lately. Russ has been far more aggressive lately as of late.
I love it.
And yeah, you know what?
I love it. I
Go
love
on.
it.
I'm in. I mean, I'm not sure when he turned. I think, and it's very interesting because initially Russ was very much Mr. Positive, get better every day. At some point, though, when you win too many years in a row, people are getting sick of the same guy winning. People start rooting against you, like the Yankees, the Bulls. Eventually, like you'll have your core fans, but some people will be like, "I'm getting sick of the same guy again." This guy. Eventually, it happened to Mike Tyson in his prime. They're like, you start cheering for someone to beat you, like someone's got to take him out. So then, when he start feeling that tide, oh, you guys want this guy to beat me now. Russ almost at a certain point started getting aggressive towards people.
It's marketing genius because if like otherwise he's infallible. He is, unbeatable. He's positive about it. He's basically Superman. Superman is no one's favorite superhero
I
because
hate
he's
him.
boring.
Fucking hate him.
Yeah, exactly. So if Russ never turned into like the world is against me, it's no longer get better today. It's just better. I'm better than you. And like he backs it up. If he never did that, then yeah, you would just run your course of like, okay, we get it. Russ is like the top dog. He's all smiles. How fun. People are still gonna root for Nori because at least he's the underdog. It feels like you're rooting for something in which like they can lose. Like it's no fun to just have like the safe bet. No one likes the
Yeah.
safe bet, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some people do. I don't. But yeah, now that Russ has just leaned into just like I'm evil, I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I still want Nori to come out and win because he's my friend, but I like the new Russ approach.
I
I'm a
mean,
big
him being when Petrie bombed out
oh,
and
that was
him
great.
him go really you only yeah he
Love
was
it.
all like he was all in. He leaned right in. Petrie was like, I'm fine with it, I don't give a shit, because he kept it sporting. It wasn't like personal attacks. He's like, yeah, fine, it's sports. I fumbled the ball, he styled on me. But so Petrie is all right with it as long as it stays sports. It's easier, right? But some people were like, for really real myth. I know some coaching services. I won't say it out loud because they were telling me in DMs, but they had discussions saying, would we want our athletes to work like that? Should we develop a social media policy just like the coaching services? We're like, would we pull aside an athlete? And what do you feel like? What would you feel about that if your coach actually was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this?
Now, luckily, I am my coach, so it doesn't
Oh
matter.
shit.
However, like I said a bit previously, I I cannot talk nearly as much as I would like to because I have had like code of conduct violations. I'm now sponsored by SBD. It's not even like I'm scared of the repercussions. I genuinely don't want to like disrespect, the APU, the CPU, SBD. I don't want to disrespect these people. I have a lot of respect for them. Um, but if I was free from that, I mean, I would go in all the time. It'd be great. I'd be like Sam Friedrich. He like a professional hater of sorts. I love it. I mean, obviously, yeah. I think Joey Flex's response to the whole matter was he could have
Oh,
definitely thought about that better.
you want
But
to hold back, wait 24 hours and
exactly, you
figure
want to
out
think.
what's the
But I
best
don't
way.
think he should censor Russ. I think is what I'm really getting to. I think that the idea of like, I think that this athlete is not representing us and therefore we don't want to like affiliate or like cut him off. I don't know. This is like a deeper political issue where I'm just like against censorship. I think every man should say what he wants to say, yada yada yada. Um I don't know, I love the trash talk. I think it makes the sport so much more interesting. I know that we're community oriented,
Hmm,
but if every single guy is just like, I'm so supportive of them and them, if it was a bunch of moments like Agatha cheering on Jess when she like pulled to win. One, it would make that moment a lot less special because it's the norm. And two, it
right.
would just kind of look soft. I don't know. The competition requires a bit of negativity, a bit of spite, a bit of aggression, right? Like you can't just love everybody and then compete against them. like me and Adam Jansen, right? We have had like a rivalry that started quite genuinely, as in
Yeah,
like if I
tell me
see
about
you, I'm
this.
going to beat you up. Uh,
Whoa, holy shit, really?
yeah, that rivalry started as like a genuine like I want to kill you. I want to censor that maybe, but like
You go, I was a I was thinking about attempted murder. I
it
was
was
thinking about
it was a genuine rivalry, and I mean that fueled our training, and I mean now we're neck and neck. It's definitely like a enemies to lovers arc. We're like best friends now, but on the platform, it is still like I'm gonna get you.
well, for people listening, Adam Jansen and you, um, Canada's number one and number two 83s right now, both going to Worlds. Both finished with 791. Let's not talk about the Nats yet. I want to get a bit of the background story, but just for everyone listening, you guys are like premier 83s, both rep Canada at Worlds. But how did this start? How did the rivalry, how did the bitterness start? And then how the hell did you guys end up becoming friends? Because I've seen you share text messages and it for really real was lovey dovey. I think one of you
Yeah,
even said, I love you.
yeah. So, I think we could pretty much start the story in quarantine. I was still a 74 because I had competed at 74 for a while, and he was an 83, and I was kind of like we had some like personal issues that I don't want to delve too much into on a podcast, but in a competitive sense at least, he he made a story post basically saying everyone is telling me to come down to 74 because he was posting weigh-ins at like 170, 172. It's like everyone's telling me to come down to 74. Why don't any of the 74s come up to 83 and try and challenge me? I think the only one that could beat me is Christian Ibanez. And Christian Ibanez had actually just beat me at 2020 nationals. I think we were the last ones to have a nationals, right? He had just beat me at 74 by 3 kilos, something like that. Anyways, because of our personal issues and then also seeing that story, I took great offense. So I then decided to move up to 83, train in my basement. I was walking out at night like in a sweatsuit, listening to like podcasts about like conquerors and
Oh,
just thinking like I'm gonna get this guy. Like I'm gonna blow his total out. Then yeah, we I managed to actually get into a competition during COVID, Alberta Provincials 2020. And I took the national 83 junior record. I blew Adam's total out by like 33 kilos or something. Um, and then things got really personal. Like we had like genuine animosity towards each other.
without
Uh,
getting into it, without and I respect that you don't want to get into like the personal aspect. That's cool because I know you're cool now. So yeah,
yeah.
let's not whatever. But like when you say personal, like you mean it's beyond sport. It became like in your personal life where it's like, look, we're not even talking about sports. Like you think I squat high, or you think you're talking like you're talking like, frick, man, this hurts my feelings. Like this is something
So
that bothers me.
so he was going to move to Calgary, and he was talking about training at Kings, which is where I've trained for a while. And I had a genuine talk with the owner, being like, look, if he's here, I don't know if it's going to be like a safe space. I was
Oh
like, I feel like we're going to get into a fight. Because like
whoa, that's how bad it
we
was.
had made like threats towards each other before. We had like long fights online where it was like, look,
What?
if you're training at Kings, I don't know, I might and for I think like the first because he did end up training at Kings for the first couple months, maybe. It was really like, I don't want to train when you're training. If I do, I'm gonna mean mug you. I don't want to be around you. He ended up going to Worlds 2021, representing Canada. He took silver. He did good. I think after that, I don't know exactly what changed, but then we just sort of started talking a bit, then training together, and it ended up as like, we're the last ones in at night, shirtless at Kings, blasting classical music, 12 a.m., maxing out the leg press, getting a nasty shoulder pump together,
Yeah.
realizing, wait, we're just the
Yeah.
same kind of person. And and then yeah, from there was pretty much it's what it is. We just push each other. We're best friends, but like actual enemies on the platform. We were always looking for like, look, we're never gonna actually fight each other as much as it would be hilarious because we're powerlifters. We can settle this on the platform. And we never got that head to head until this Nats. And we talked about it. We were like, it's gonna come so close. Like, I can't wait to have this showdown. And it couldn't have been more like fantastically perfect. 791 versus 7091. I won on like 600 grams body weight, shaving my head the week before. Like, it was
Right.
hilarious.
Well, let's talk. We'll dive in. Let's talk about the Nats. But first off, was it like when you guys are late, doing your damn thing, shirtless, blaring class dog? This is a TikTok, by the way. Ironically enough, doubling back. Was it like, you spot me, bro? Was like one of those moments? And he's like, holy fuck, I'm gonna ask. You look around, you need a spot. It's bench. You're like, fuck, I don't know. This is getting a little dicey. I think I need a spot here. You look around, and there's Adam, and he's the only guy in the room. You're like, holy shit, this is such a corny movie, but I'm gonna ask him. Or what was it?
I don't actually remember the exact
Chalk
moment
my
it
back,
flipped.
bro.
I think he had like a good meet at Worlds, and like I just respected it. Like, he had beat my total after I had beat his total. I was like, yeah, that's what it is. And then we just kind of like, I don't know. You can't be in an environment that you go to every day and just like hate somebody. Like, it takes a toll on your soul.
For sure.
So like, you need to push it aside.
Here's another thing. And it's interesting you said that, because when things get negative, if it's not personal, easier to roll with. But when it gets personal and people get too familiar, so they're like going at your personal life, only because if you have, like, it depends on how it happens. If it's in your personal life, stays in your personal life, but it's not going public on social media, that's shitty, but it's one thing. But if someone's like taking your personal life, dragging it into social media and going, that would be difficult on a different level. And probably, how you were like, man, I can't carry this for this long. That's where the weight of it might turn. And here's the one thing: if you were to go heel for fun, and you could probably have fun with, like, if it's within sport, and you're just like, yes. But if someone's like, hey, fuck it, man, I'm sick of this kid, and they go in and go personal, throw it in social media, and then it becomes like, that's where sometimes and you can't turn it off. It's hard to turn these things off. Then I could see where it'd be like, damn it, I built a monster. I can't turn it off. And things can get like, I mean, just even like if you got a girl, you got whatever, there's no limits. And you can't protect people around you sometimes. So some people don't give a shit. They don't know boundaries. They're like, no, it's cool. I'll go with his family or whatever. It's like, no, dog, that's not cool, man. Like, that's the only thing where I'm like, God bless heels, but some people like, hey, all fair. If you go at me, I'm going at you. And some people don't have those boundaries, man.
I'll never respect it when it goes too far. It can obviously always go too far. But
yours sounded stressful as shit. Yours sounded like, damn.
Ours wasn't even like a heel. Like, I don't even know how much of this was like that public. It was just like, we genuinely just hated each other.
Right.
It went way beyond sport. But in terms of like sport, like heels in a sport, yeah, I don't think you should ever like make it personal. Being said, it'd be fun. It's from the outside looking in.
Yeah, for everyone else watching, it'd be, oh my god.
I mean, once if powerlifting ever gets like a big enough audience to look sort of similar to UFC, or even esports, which I think we should mimic ourselves more after. That'd be a lot more interesting. I think it's too tight knit right now. I think if you get personal, it just gets weird. It's like,
it could look real fast.
Yeah, like our families are going to be sitting in the crowd next to each other probably. Like, it's weird, man. I don't want to go to a meet after insulting your wife or whatever, and then she's there, and it's like, oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah, that's awkward. What did you think about the esports? Because I'm not a big esports guy. I don't play video games. But what about, I've heard this, like Pete Spence from SBD is super duper into that kind of stuff, and he likes to draw ideas from it.
Yeah, so I'm not actually into like real sports. Like, I don't watch any sports at all. I used to watch a bit of League of Legends, and I think that like the parallels between powerlifting and esports are much more similar than regular sports, in that like they're community driven as opposed to fan driven, right? Like, if you look at football, how many football fans actually play football, right?
Yeah.
Like, not a lot. Whereas if you look at powerlifting, most fans powerlift to some degree. If you look at League of Legends, pretty much everyone that watches it plays it. They understand it. So it's a lot more community driven. You have a better connection with the athlete, so to speak. And also I just feel like if we want to grow powerlifting as a sport, we need to look at media first and foremost. I think presentation is everything in regards to it. I don't think that powerlifting at its core is inherently boring. I think that that argument is thrown around a lot where it's like, oh, but I don't want to watch squat, bench, and deadlift for like 8 hours. Honestly, now IPF meets at like 3 hours. But if you present it well, any idea is interesting, right?
Mm.
League of Legends games at their core are fun to watch, but they're made in like infinitely more enjoyable due to the quality of the casters, the excitement that they bring, having sort of in between matches analyst desks that talk about the strategies or they give the audience a level of understanding that you would otherwise need to be an expert to actually get. And I think that's something that powerlifting could benefit a lot from. We have these huge intermission periods. That's when we can start talking about technique, games, like how the handlers might be choosing numbers, what storylines are starting to approach with squat and bench leading into deadlift. Having a lot of that sort of information given is something that esports does really well. I think sports, like real sports, if you will, do that very well as well. But I think that esports has that community connection where sort of the casters and presenters have as much a personality as the athletes, like something that you're doing yourself very well within the sport, something that like
Thanks, sir.
even Gino sort of had like a bit of a reputation for that. But it's more community driven as opposed to fan driven. I think that's what I'm really trying to nail forward is that if we can look at how esports has evolved as a sport and as a business model, we should look to that more so than real sports because I think that we just don't have anyone that isn't powerlifting watching powerlifting. So we shouldn't try to appeal to them. It doesn't make sense, right? No one really is watching the IPF and being like, I don't even know what a squat, bench, and deadlift is. And if they are, it's like 1%. Don't cater to them. They're not what's going to grow the sport. Just grow who's already in here.
Interesting. Now, some of the stuff that you were talking about, again, it's funny. I mentioned Pete. I had no idea we were going to talk about this, but literally earlier this weekend, he's doing notes for like, future events, etc. And he showed me like a document and they're looking to do more and more stuff like in between sessions or in between events, doing analysis work where the commentators are talking about it. And on the document, he was mentioning casters. And I'm like, what's this? What's that term even mean? Yeah, because I'm not an esport guy. And he's like, oh, that's that. He's like, dog, that's you. Right? He didn't say dog, but that's you, man. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then, and he's using the, vernacular using in terms of like esports, the way they use it. But a lot of the ideas you're saying, I think he's drawing into that as well. We'll take a look at how some of the future events SBD does go, but it's an interesting, I agree. I think the in-between models of, having the analysis work, diving into storylines in between, what storylines are developing, etc. That's got to be done, a little better.
Yes.
And I do also think like with the IPF, they historically weren't big on commentators showing personality. They weren't big on like, you said the casters were like a personality like the lifters. I had to do that shit on my own through King of List social media and a podcast and all the rest of it. So now when I show up at Worlds, people will know me as a personality, but the IPF was not big. They didn't necessarily like that, where it's like, dude, this is about the lifters, not about you. It's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I got you, but this isn't going to hurt us. Like it'll help. Yeah. This is going to help us. You want me strong, this will be good for us.
It's a sport with way too much downtime. And to be frank, it's a sport where the sport can't really speak for itself. If you watch soccer or football or anything, the sport can more or less do the talking. Powerlifting has way too much downtime and in a vacuum, it's simply not that interesting. You need to elevate everything around it, but the core product is interesting. You just need to like really put in a lot of work to make it interesting. And I think that like the IPF is like I think Sheffield was a great example of what to do. The IPF is sort of they've lost the tree in the forest, looking for like IOC status, right? But let's be frank, most Olympic sports are pretty boring to watch, at least. Like,
Yeah,
who actually watches the Olympics anymore?
here's the thing. I'm an Olympics guy, so that's
I mean, I do, but who
yeah.
actually does, you know?
It's weird. So for in terms of what Sheffield's done, I'll tell you this, because a lot of the big IPF heads were there. Like, all of them basically. And it is influencing worlds. Like, this world is going to be a lot different than previous worlds. I can't speak too much on it. Sometimes I get in trouble saying more than I'm supposed to on the podcast and social media. So, and everyone's listening. But media wise, the stream and everything is going to start being more and more like if they're leveling up. They're going to continue to level up with ideas they saw. And Sheffield, it was helped spark things as well. Even before Sheffield, they're leaning into it. But after Sheffield even solidified a lot of, okay, no, this direction is really working. And sometimes that's what you need to see, right? Will it take? How will this take? No, it's going to take. In terms of like, it's interesting. I 100% agree that we're community based and that people who don't play football watch football. And I don't know anybody really that watches powerlifting that isn't involved in powerlifting at some level, lifting weights or whatever the shit. I 100% agree with that. I don't know if it's like that means we'll never get to it. It's hard for me to see just people sitting down as powerlifting fans watching powerlifting if you're not actually in the community. Do you think we'll always be community based, or do you think can we break through?
We will always be community based, and that's not a bad thing. I don't think we could break through because, as interesting as I find it, and as interesting as we can make it through presentation, the layman that doesn't SBD is never going to find SBD interesting. It just isn't. You already have strongman for that. It doesn't matter how many reds you put on a bar. It doesn't matter how much it whips on Jesus's back. It just doesn't look that cool if you don't actually understand how much weight that is. But like we were earlier talking about TikTok, the community that we can cater to is so quickly growing, and at this point is so vast. Lifting is pretty big now, and like it's really big. And you don't necessarily need to just look at power lifters, but anyone that lifts, we can consider part of that community that we can cater to. And I think that's a big enough audience. Like, you don't want to try to bite off more than, not that you can chew, but just cater to what you got. Like, understand your limitations. As soon as we try to look, okay, we need to get more of that non-lifting audience, you've lost it. You need to just focus on what's there. In my opinion, at least. I don't know. I don't run the IPF.
Yeah, no, this is, I think you hit the nail on the head that they don't have to be registered powerlifters, as in they've had a meet. But you're right that, like, I go to the gym and I see people, they're doing SBD. And even they're just like squat, deading, benching, but they understand they're not competing. But when I'm there, they'll talk to me about like Sheffield, or they'll talk to me about shit that they saw. They'll talk to me about they'll freak out if I tell them about whatever, like deadlifts you do or whatever. They'll freak out and be like, yeah, I've seen that. They'll follow King of the Lifts and be like, so you're right. It's a bigger community if you think about not just like, well, how many registered powerlifters do we have? We're never going to grow bigger than that. Not necessarily. Fitness community in general. I think people who are just gym goers, but not just any gym goers, they probably have to SBD it. They probably have to have squats, dead, bench in there. But we're interesting enough a sport. And I also agree with you. I don't think it's boring. I don't think powerlifting is boring to watch. Not if it's done well. Not if it's presented properly and you explain what's happening. Like, that's interesting. They did that shift. Oh, we got an attempt change. You know what that means? Okay, he's pulling for. Tell the storylines. Okay, the vet Nick has fallen behind and, he's really back now. Like, can he do this? At Junior Worlds, he loaded up and he missed. Oh my God, he's put all of his chips in the middle and he's going for it again. And it's like, you talk about a storyline and be like, will it happen? Will it happen this time? Is this the time? And you start building it up. It can be, if you have the right people doing that kind of shit. Or And this is Nick Manders, and he's going to squat. Well, this is a successful squat. Good for Nick. He should
Yeah.
be very happy for. And here's so and so. Here's Ryan Lapadat, and he's coming up to squat. And then blah 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 blah. Right? And it's
Or
like,
yeah. Like
yeah,
if we look at the 83s this year, right, for Worlds, let's be honest. We don't have the same big names that we have in previous years. This isn't a John Hack versus Gibbs. This isn't a Russ versus Gibbs, right? We have we don't have anyone with like a huge following aside from Delaney. Like I think Jurens has less than 5,000 followers. I have less than 5,000 followers. These aren't especially well-known names outside of like the powerlifting community. But the storylines within, I think, and I'm biased here, I think are exceptionally strong this year.
hmm.
You have Jurens and Delaney going at it with, Jurens having an extremely strong 820 day, and then Delaney kind of looking capped out at 835, if we're being honest. So it's like, who's going to take that? But if either of them miss, we have so many guys like third and down that can take that spot. No one's talking about the fact that Eduardo has beat me and Adam before. So
He totaled 800 before. He's totaled 800.
I've joked with Adam that we're cursed to never beat him. The Canadians can't beat the Italian.
Oh,
so like we're capped at second. If we come second, Edo comes first. That's the joke, at least. But yeah, we have so many storylines. Me versus Anna for like deadlift gold. Before it was like, if I enter a meet, I'm getting deadlift gold. If Anna enters a meet, he's getting deadlift gold. We're about to see, tooting my own horn here, the two greatest deadlifters in 83, possibly in the IPF. I don't know. You do the IPF points, but possibly in the IPF, going head to head for the first time to have one of the greatest deadlift battles in IPF history. Really. I think that's going to be crazy.
Dude, 283s that could be pulling 800 pounds and up. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's never happened ever, anywhere, period. But seriously, how often do you see 93s, two people pulling 800 and up head to head, toe to toe like this?
Yeah.
Like it's in freaking insane, man, that you guys are going to do this. And Adam's going to go toe to toe with Delaney Wallace for gold. He's already instigating in the comments about like, when I reposted, I'm like, based off of this Delaney's bench, what do you think his opener is going to be? And Adam commented,
less than mine.
It's right. I was like, oh, damn. And I was like, good. Let's get it going. Let's get it popping. And Jurens and Delaney for sure are going to have a toe-to-toe battle. Delaney's going to go for that world record, but he's got to keep an eye on Jurens. He wants Russ's world record. And if he gets Russ's world record, that's huge. It's good. But if he overextends, Jurens is going to...
Yeah, he can't get greedy.
No. That's the thing. Jurens is like, okay, well, you look at that world record, but I'm on your heels. So if you load up too much, chasing something that's a little beyond reach, I'll be a world champion. Thank you. I'm going to Sheffield next year. Thank you. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be careful. They are tight. And Jurens wasn't capped at 820.5. He had more in the tank. He cut it there. That was the plan. He was on the podcast saying like, that was always the plan. I'm not going over 820. So I don't know. We'll see. And then you and Adam got your rivalry. So let's double back. Let's talk about, first off, let's talk about junior worlds. So junior worlds, you were saying going in, did you underestimate what people were going to do? And then by the time Deads rolled around, you were like, I'm going all in, because your last deadlift was 368. What happened going into junior worlds? What's your expectation?
So I was kind of with everybody else, sort of undershooting what everyone was going to do. I was also talking up 800 because I like to play psychological mind games. I want everyone to think, oh, you need 800 to win. I was kind of expecting like 780 would win it. I know that you guys, King of the Lifts, did a preview show where a couple of you were like, I think 780. Someone said 760 would win it. And I was like, yeah, I think 780 will probably be around what you need to win. And then I was sort of gaming around that. I had injured myself a bit. I had tweaked my back going in. So I was also like, all right, let's play a bit safe and just try to collect up to the deadlift and start shooting and aiming for around 780 to 790. My third squat got overturned, but I was still like, we're in the race. We'll play a bit safe on bench, And And then yeah, 780 did not win it. 780 was good for fourth. So
Right.
everyone excelled. Everyone did much better than anyone expected them to, including myself. I know a lot of guys were like, yeah, you're gonna go like 760, 770. I got 780 and I was like, yay, good me. I came fourth, so I felt terrible about it. But I just yeah, I didn't expect the winning total to have to be like 800 to beat Jin. I just didn't think that was going to happen. I thought anyone hitting 800, which I guess, yeah, Jin got pretty close to 800, so it's like he won. But I didn't expect it was like, yeah, I assumed once you're past 780, you would have just blew past everybody. It was Junior Worlds. I expected juniors to be like myself and make mistakes, not
Yeah.
go 9 for 9. That's insane. That doesn't happen.
But the thing too, in your decision, um, when it's loading up for your last deadlift, and you could have loaded up, I mean, it was like 2.5 kilo, 5 kilo, and 7 kilo or something like that, that you would have took like one of the medals below. Like you would have moved up, took a silver or bronze, whatever. And you were like, no, we're going all in for gold. What tell me about that conversation with the coaches? Was it like already like, look, we're loading for gold regardless, or
It was Junior Worlds. It was my last year as a junior. It was my last meet as a junior. I kind of wanted to just like, this is going to sound maybe a bit conceited. I didn't feel like Junior Worlds was that important because of that junior prefix. So I was kind of like, you either win or you don't. Like, I think with Open Worlds, it's a bit different. I know that Gavin has said no matter what, you're either first or you're last. But I think for Open Worlds, with like the level of competition, even third, even fourth is more prestigious than, anything else. Obviously, first wins, but with Open Worlds, it sort of is the best of the best. You're at least putting yourself in the rankings. With Junior Worlds, I was sort of like, it's my last Junior Worlds. It's my last meet as a junior. Um, I don't think anyone is really going to remember anyone that didn't win. At least that was my headspace going in. Obviously, now all those guys, they're still competing. They're still doing great. Edo's ahead of me still. Yada, yada, yada. But yeah, it was just sort of like do or die. I don't really want to end my junior career going like third, going second. I wanted to at least, try have that, because if I did do it, it would have been sick. It would have been like ending my junior career with like a near 800 total, huge deadlift world record. I'm the junior world champion. We're moving into opens, yada yada yada. It just didn't happen. It is what it is.
it would have been absolutely titanic. It would have been an insane comfort behind victory, which cues
Happened in
up
Nats.
which cues up the Nat story. Now going into Canadian Nationals, this was a stacked class. Kafwee's back. He's won nationals before multiple time at the World Championships in the Open. Adam's there, you're there, Kyle's there. Like it's a stacked 83s. As a matter of fact, I think Kafwee was telling me when the dust settled and all was done, I think three of you, Adam, and Kafwee were in the top 5 all-time good lift points in the CPU. I think.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, and that's crazy to think about how stacked that battle is.
I'm pretty sure that I would need to look at this, but I'm pretty sure that it is Christopher Acosta Tapia right now is number 1. Phenom, by the way, just came out of nowhere, blew us all out of the water. Then me, then Adam, then Kafwee. So aside from him, we are the top 3 lifters in Canada, and yeah, it was the best. Yeah, it was the best battle in CPU history, hands down.
And he obviously is a 105, Christopher. So when it happened, when the 83s concluded, until he went, that was the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
in history.
We were the
battle. The battle was over, and it was legitimately the 3 best lifters the Federation has ever seen just went to battle. Like, that's how crazy that was. I mean, it was a super tight. I mean, and Kafwee was like, you and Adam were directly the exact same total. Kafwee is 6 kilos behind. I mean, it was good. Yes. It was a good scrap, man. But leading into it, so you and Adam are going to settle this on the platform, and you guys are going back and forth on social media. And now knowing the background, the weird storyline, this is a very complex relationship, but you had never settled it on the platform yet. How much of it was real? How much it was just friendly banter? How much of it was, oh my God, I'm not sure I'm going to win this. This is going to be like, what were you thinking going in this?
At that point, it was mostly banter. I think that we had agreed it was like, look, the optimal is just that we come first and second because we both want to go to Worlds. And like with how Canada selects, it was like if we both come second, if one of us comes second, it is pretty guaranteed almost that they'll also
Mm.
be going to Worlds, which that's what happened. So we are like, look, as long as it's me and you second, we both go to Worlds, we're happy. But obviously, when it comes down to it, I still want to beat you. I still want to
Mm.
come first. Um, and then I think once that sort of like game plan, if we're gonna like game it behind the scenes, was over, there was a lot of like pseudo smack talk. It wasn't legitimate. There was no bad blood, but like, yeah, we were flipping each other off in the warm up room. I was like warming up on a different platform and I'd run over and then while he was squatting, throw him the middle finger. I would like yell obscenities at him across. I'm pretty sure we looked like especially because we were the two juniors that were like fresh out of junior in the open warm-up room. We looked like two little kids trying to annoy each other around a bunch of like old guys trying to focus, which I thought was really funny. Um, and then yeah, when it came down to it, he had a perfect day and I started fumbling really hard.
So what you were telling me though, um, you, did you got sick right before?
Yeah, I got sick. Which like it I don't want to use it as an excuse because like
Winners don't need
I've
excuses, man. You
I've never
won.
had, yeah, I've never had a perfect prep though. So like I can't say like, oh man, I got sick. That's why I was really like fumbling it up. It is what it is. I think I just made some like really poor execution errors on the platform. I just felt kind of out of it. Um, to be honest, I was probably a bit cocky. I was kind of like, I thought that my like strength potential was a lot higher than Adam's. So I kind of went into every lift like I think I got this in the bag. Like I'm not that threatened. And it was only by polls where I was like, okay, I might come third.
Dude. So
Because
here's
at
the
one
thing.
point Cathway was ahead of me and I was like, I might come third.
It was I remember watching the live stream and yeah, like you went 2 for 3 on squat. Okay, but the thing is, if let me pull this up because I know Caffrey went 9 for 9. I think Adam went 9 for 9, or did
Adam
he
went nine
miss?
for nine. Cathway went 9 for 9.
And
They both went 9 for 9.
you
I was
missed
like,
you missed on squat, and then
and
you
on
missed on
bench.
bench, and then I'm like, Man, Nick is falling behind now. And your demeanor too, at a point when you left, I forget if it was squat or bench, but you left the platform after missing, and it didn't look good. It looked like you were frustrated, like what was going on in your head then? Because at that time, if I'm honest, I'm like, okay, I think it's going to be between Caffrey and Nick, or sorry, Caffrey and Adam now. I think Nick might have fallen back too far, which only makes the story better. But we'll put a pin in that. We'll talk about that yet. But what were you thinking at that point?
So yeah, I came off of squats very frustrated, like pissed, but not like defeated. I was more so pissed because I was like, okay, I can't afford to miss at all anymore. It's now brought the margin of error down to like zero.
Mm.
Because before I sort of like I said, I went into the competition feeling quite confident, quite cocky, and I was like, look, by the end of squats, I'm going to be able to afford to miss maybe like a third pull. Like I can like take a token third. And I was like, okay, now it's like every lift really matters. And it kind of pissed me off because now I had to like change game plan and be like, all right, I can't take a token pull. I need to like
Dude,
focus.
the exact opposite ended up happening.
Yeah. So I got kind of like angry about that. But again, not defeated. I remember telling Graham, who's been my handler now since like 2018, I was like, he was kind of like, okay, what do we do? And I was like, don't worry. Like, we're still in the race. Like, I have my deadlift. I was just like, we can't make any more mistakes. Like, we can't fuck up anymore.
And then
So
what about when bench happened and you missed one on bench? Then what were you thinking?
honestly, it was a 2.5 kg miss. I was like, I don't care. I'll pull it.
Really? Okay.
I told him, I was like, look, 2.5 kg is on bench. I'll pull it. It does not matter.
Yeah.
On
I mean,
squat was a bigger deal. I was like, we just lost like 5, 7, maybe even 10 keys because of like I just wasn't there on the day. That's annoying. Bench was like, okay, we lost 2.5. I can make that up on the pull. It's negligible. So that one didn't mentally get me as much. And then yeah, come pulls, I was just very I don't know. Um the confidence came back. I don't actually think I was afraid at any point during deads. I think as soon as I pulled my opener, I was like, I'm gonna win.
really? See, the thing is like First off, I get what you mean with the 2.5 kilos on bench. However, there is like when you're at the dead end of deadlifts, there's going to come a point where it's 2.5 kilos too much. It was just, it looked when viewing it. I remember you were getting frustrated. Like at certain points, you were shaking your head, like fucking, you know, like it just probably wasn't the way you were thought it was going to go. And I'm like, what is going to happen here? Because going back to junior worlds, I'm like, oh my God, like what are we looking at here? How is this going to play out? And yeah, so you hit your deadlifts, and I thought you were going to load up. You're going on in your shield kind of guy. It just depended if you were going to load up to try to go for the, like if you're going to, because if you're going to go for a silver or go for a gold. Now, the way it would be, I guess, could you have gone after Calfwees for 6 kilos less, bump him for silver, made it onto the world team, and been more secure? It just depends on how confident you are with your dead. It depends.
I wanted to beat Adam.
That's right. Well, there's that too. That's true.
I had talked so much shit over the last 3 years. I was like, I gotta beat Adam.
Yeah, you know what? Imagine that you load up just to bump Calfwee off the national team, and Adam be like, dog.
Adam would have beat me up, like in the warm-up room. Like it would have turned serious. He would have been like, why'd you do that? And he would have beat me up.
You'd be like, you didn't load? You didn't load it?
You didn't load it? What are you doing? He would, yeah. No, there was no way. Like, I think Graham sort of at one point suggested it, like very briefly, like, do you want silver? And I was like, because I think after my first pull, I told him, okay, we're gonna take whatever you think is necessary to like jostle for position on second, but load whatever you need. Like I'll pull whatever I need today. Like I don't care if it's like 370. I'll pull whatever I need to win. And I felt very, very confident in my pull that day. Like I don't think I actually had 370. I think I was pretty capped at 361. But the mindset was, I can pull anything. It doesn't matter. Like I'll load it up. I'll pull it.
The best, one of my favorite quotes from you is, I don't need the tactical advantage.
I pull 800.
That dude,
I thought that was so stupid.
I fucking loved it because it's when it comes to sports, man, everybody talks about there's always tactical advantage. There's always game playing. There's always if the chips go down or like you fuck up on handling, get the wrong attempt in there, whatever it is. And to have a quote like that to be like, it doesn't matter. I pull last. And when my pull's 800, it's an eraser for all the mistakes I made. And it is a gangster quote that not many people could say. It is an advantage. It is. What's that? Except well, this is it. When we go to this world, that's what makes this world so interesting. But that win, when you loaded up 361 kilos, just shy of 800 pounds, dude, I'm telling you, when I'm watching on the stream, I'm like, oh my God, this is a Titanic Hail Mary. He's been missing his lifts. Like it didn't look like today was the day. And then when you hit that 800, man, and your celebration afterwards, like you were hyped, man. You came walking into the crowd. Like, how did that feel?
I don't really remember it.
Really?
It was pretty
crazy hyped. You were flexing, yelling at the crowd, stepped over the bar and walked towards them. And I'm used to seeing you far more reserved. And I was like, damn, but yeah, man, you pulled off. This was the biggest win in CPU history against the most stacked division in CPU history we've ever seen. And now you're going to the World Championships and you just beat Adam.
I think I was so like in like that flow state that like sports psychologists love to talk about that like I genuinely don't really remember it. Really? I kind of went out and I just did it, and like whatever happened afterwards was pretty just like autopilot. I wasn't really there as much as I was like fully there. Consciously, I wasn't as present. I kind of just let my body take over, do whatever, like figure it out.
Wow. So you hit that. You went to another. Have you done that before? Get into the flow state where you're like, I'm just here. I'm a robot right now.
Back in 2017, actually, can we take a tea? I
need
to use the washroom.
Yeah,
we just like we can just makes a scene. Yeah, back in 2017, provincials actually, probably like my first good competition. That was probably like the last time since where I've been in like a flow state, if you will, and actually felt like excited after a lift, or I guess it's like my most memorable lift. It was my first time pulling 600. At the time, it was like an unofficial sub-junior world record for what that matters. But yeah, that's almost sort of the high that I've been chasing in powerlifting since.
Whoa, you hit at 17.
Yeah, are we gonna do this podcast like out of order where like I talk about my like upbringing as a lifter at like the end of it?
Dog,
Because like we were alluding to that earlier, sort of like how maybe like yeah, how I started powerlifting was more of like a fun story.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um yeah, so I started lifting or I started competing when I was 16. I bombed out my first meet.
Holy smokes,
So
really?
yeah, it was just really stupid. I'm not that much smarter anymore, but I thought that like kilograms were just like times two, like not 2.205, but like just two. So I thought that 210 kilograms was like about 420 pounds. So I opened with that and just got like crushed.
Oh, damn.
So I didn't even register a single lift. I bombed out of my first meet. I went
Dude,
home
that's a terrible
crying.
experience. Yeah, that's
Oh
a
yeah.
terrible experience for
Oh
a
yeah, I
kid.
felt so embarrassed, so ashamed. I didn't stay for bench or deadlifts. I just went home like crying, sobbing. I felt
Greg,
terribly embarrassed. It was awful. Um,
how did you find powerlifting?
um, actually, yeah, that's an even funner story. I I just started lifting as like a kid because I was skinny and small, like anyone else. And then I really started to like deadlifting because people would give you lots of attention when you did it in like the high school weight room. You know, you pull like 300 pounds and I was like, oh shit. So I thought that was cool. Um, and then at one of the track meets for our school, my girlfriend at the time got hit on by some guy who I will not name because that would be really rude. I've never actually talked to him, but his name was like
Adam
odd.
Jason.
His name is oddly similar to like a synonym for like the word fate. We'll go that far. Like he didn't feel like a real person. He felt like a concept to me. His name was we'll call him Fate because his name was really similar to a word that means fate. Anyways, he hit on my girlfriend.
Should I know who this is?
No, no one does anymore. No one does anymore. He was just like some local kid that ended up having all the national records, and he hit on my girlfriend. And I was like, I don't like that. I want to take some of your records. So that's genuinely how I started
Wait a second.
powerlifting. Is
What is
I've
everybody's going to be trying to put this together now. There's
no aside from like one or two people from Alberta that like remember the 2016 records, no one is gonna remember the 83 kg sub junior records. Maybe they can find them, but
there we
like
go.
if you go through that effort, please do not harass this poor man. He
Okay,
probably
that's
doesn't even
fair.
remember powerlifting.
That's true.
And anyways, I started powerlifting because I wanted to take his records because he didn't even know it was my girlfriend. He just hit on like a girl that happened to be my girlfriend. And I was like, I don't like that. So I went to go compete to try and take his records, bombed out. It was like,
That
okay,
didn't
we're
work.
not
Was she there? Was she like you're in the car ride home crying and she's like,
He's
God
like,
damn.
I need to
You're
go
like
with him
this.
instead. I need to go with the
Yeah.
record
You're
holder.
like, this totally blew up in my face.
No.
This was this, you're like, this did not work out the way I thought it was
Oh.
going to.
And then I was like, okay, we're not done though. I didn't want to give up.
No,
So
hell
then
no.
I started training for like another meet because you can only get so we had the national records, not just the provincial records, and you need to achieve the lift at either provincials or higher in Canada to get the national record. So I need to qualify for provincials. I still didn't register a total, so there's one more meet left to do. Um, so I was training for that, and a bit sad. It was the anniversary of one of the friends who got me into lifting, Marcus Lavalley, rest in peace. It was the anniversary of his death. So it was also like it was weirdly dramatic. It was like a rainy day, thunderstorms and everything. So I was sad. But I went to go train because he got me into it. So I was like fired up. So I pulled, I'm pretty sure if memory serves, it was 515, which was at that time a PR. I pulled it for a double and I broke my wrist. I broke my
Holy
wrist deadlifting. I got so hyped up that when I had slammed it into the ground, I guess, I had like shattered my ulna and blew a tendon off with it. So like my wrist was decimated.
wow.
Went to a doctor. was like, hey, I think something's wrong with my wrist. I can't move it, and it's excruciating pain, and it's really swollen. And he was like, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 16. And he kind of like winked at me, and he's like, it's tendonitis. It's like, you dick, it's not tendonitis. So anyway, I
Wow.
went to another doctor. He was like, okay, we'll get an x-ray done. Got an x-ray done, and yeah, shattered. He was like, we need to put you into a cast like immediately. You're probably gonna need surgery. It's pretty bad. And I was like, I got a meet in 2 weeks. I can't go into a cast. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Like,
They're
we
like,
need to put
kid.
you in a cast.
Yeah.
Don't go compete. Like, whatever you do, do not go lift. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna. I went, I competed, I got all.
What?
Yeah, I got registered my first total with like a broken wrist. It was excruciating. It hurt so bad. Um,
Dude, holy smokes, this is a local me too, but you needed revenge on that dude who was hitting on your girl.
yeah, I didn't even take it as like token lifts either. I still like maxed out everything because I'm stupid. I think some of
Whoa.
them count as like provincial records at the time because like you can do those at local meets. But yeah, I think I ended up pulling like 515 or 513 or something, like 237 and a half. I don't really remember. They're up there somewhere. But anyways, immediately afterwards, casted up the arm, and then once I was out of the cast after like 2 months, started training for provincials, and that was like the first meet and probably the last meet where I've really felt like that was a perfect meet. Right. So I've been
Real.
tracing a high that I achieved back in 2017 as a sub junior. Because I
What was
would
that? What made the perfect meet? Like what?
national record squat, national record bench, national record unofficial world record deadlift, national record total, taken all of that dude's records who hit on my girlfriend. I had gotten revenge and I was like, I'm done with the sport. So I almost retired at 2017.
What?
I'm not doing anything else. I'm done. I got all the national records. What else is there to do?
And were you still with that girl?
No, we had broken up a couple weeks before, but who cares?
Yeah, be
Doesn't
like,
matter.
I don't
It's
need you
20,
anymore,
it's
babe. You,
17-year-old Nick. I
you,
don't know. Doesn't
you were like,
matter.
do you see my total? I was about to break up with you anyways. You're like, I need to be free and single and ready to mingle and be available. I'm a hot commodity now.
I don't think I realized back then that girls don't care how much you lift, but
This,
like whatever. We'll move on from that.
this is true too. That's
Anyways,
also
I
true.
yeah, I nearly retired then because I was like, I don't really care. And then Worlds actually came to Calgary, 2018, right?
Dude, I was there. I was commentating. Whoa, were you there?
And yeah. And
18-year-old you? Did we meet?
no.
Okay.
And what brought me back into the sport, and this might be a bit controversial, is I saw Blake LaHue pull 305 at 74. Was it 305? It might have been 302, something like that. I saw him pull it, and I remember thinking to myself, that pull sucked. That should not have passed. I hate that
Oh,
that passed. I'm gonna now dedicate myself to taking that record because I don't like that that passed. That was a terrible pull. So then I've basically always trained with like some specific person as like my Moby Dick, as my white
I'm
whale,
starting to
being like,
notice.
I want to beat you. That's been my motivation since up until now. Like I know a lot of people are talking about, or they always bring up, you need to be like intrinsically motivated. You need to love the process. I'm pretty sure that's applicable to like everybody else and is good advice. But for me, I just want to beat somebody. I just want to be better than somebody. I don't actually like it that much. It's not
One
that
person
fun.
in
I just
particular.
want to beat somebody. So I always
Wow.
just pick somebody I want to beat. Um, yeah, I ended up actually not officially taking Blake LaHue's record, but I did make good on that. I ended up pulling 315 at 74.
Okay,
So
wow.
I
Righted that
accomplished
ship.
that. Yeah, and then immediately after him, Jansen. So like
Who is it now?
just everyone at the top. Delaney's maybe too big of a fish to fry at this point. I think I just want to get like revenge on Eduardo because he has beat me before. So I want to beat Eduardo. But I
Hmm.
mean, like, if Delaney slips up at Worlds and Jurens does as well, I
I
do
mean,
pull 800.
you do pull 800.
I do pull probably at Worlds a bit more than 800. So if they end up slipping up, I don't know. We got a very strong class.
It,
So
it is like you're right in terms of it doesn't have like when Brett and Russ went toe to toe or whatever, but in terms of stack division 1 through 5, we got 5 dudes who could go over 800 kilos total. And we have obviously Delaney who could take the world record, Jurens who's could easily be an 830 up. Like it's not often you have 2 guys who can be 830 and up. And then like the podium's going to be 800 and up for sure.
Oh yeah, no way it's not.
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
because what last year it was Delaney won with 802 and a half. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, this year 802 and a half is going to be good for like 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
I'm not making the same mistake I made in Turkey, being like, I think everyone's going to undershoot. It's not happening again. I think that's like, you want to be on the podium 815 up.
It's so difficult because usually world championships totals do go down. Like not, I remember Pete Spence, again, dropping Pete's name in here, but he posted in his stories about people's PRs. And then one year, and I'm not sure if it was just for that world in particular or if he did a 5-year spread. Pete is a spreadsheet nerd and loves this kind of stuff, but totals went down like quite a bit. However, freaking Jurens flew across the ocean to Sheffield to hit 835 and was like a couple inches away from locking out the world record with the final deadlift. So it's like Malta is, I think, the exact same type of flight, hours difference in terms of time zone change. He can do this. I don't think it'll be a factor. Obviously, or sorry, did I say Jurens? I meant Delaney. And Jurens is in UK to Malta is like nothing. That's not even a journey. It's like freaking people moving like me going to see you in Calgary, man, or less. It's even smaller. Like it's almost a domestic flight, basically, in terms of time zone changes and whatnot. So I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think totals are gonna dip. I think you're right. I think you got to anticipate it's gonna be a freaking battle. And just getting on that platform, man, or getting on that podium is gonna be freaking scrappy. Between you, Edo, Enna, Adam. I mean, at the very top, you got Jurens and Delaney, but the supporting cast is freaking nuts.
Oh yeah, and it's not even like Delaney and Jurens are like they're far ahead. Don't get me wrong, but as soon as they miss even one lift, they've joined the rest of us.
Yeah,
like they aren't ahead by like a comfortable amount. Like if they go 9 for 9, that's their battle. We can like fight around in the muck. But as soon as one of them misses, you're with the rest of us. I think me and Enna especially are going to be like vipers during the subtotal, where we're just like playing our game. Come deadlifts though, me and Enna are really going to decide who goes where. I think that's.
I love that quote. I love that. Come deadlifts, me and Enna are going to decide who goes where.
It's got to suck for everybody else to just like sit there and say, all right, well, I don't know where I'm actually going to end up. Because me and Enna kind of just like, all right, where do I want to try to put myself? Do I want to go third? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to bump down? That's the game we get to play. No one else gets to play that.
Delaney was on the podcast right after Worlds, and he was talking about what it was like watching Enna pull last at Worlds. And he was like, when he loaded up 385, initially, it's like 385. All right. And I remember he talked to the US coaching staff, and they're like, dude, he's going to have to like pull the freaking world to catch up and take your gold medal. Relax. And Delaney's like, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's going to be something stupid. What is it? 385? That's crazy. And that's like 847 pounds. And they're like, the Americans are kind of like, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll relax. But when Enna walked out there and he pulled, and that came off the ground, he locked it out. He just couldn't maintain it, but he actually locked it out. Right knee hyperextended, started coming out of his hands, but it was locked out for a brief moment. And Delaney said, he's like, dude, I dropped to a knee and was like, oh my God. Like he was like, I just lost the world championships. Like I had it. It was, people are like essentially just putting the medals around his neck. And then it's like, holy shit, man. I can't imagine what it's like now at Worlds. To your point, everyone on the podium know that you and Enna are 800-pound and up pullers. And it's like, well, we know. Nobody celebrate. Nobody start shaking hands and fucking start getting the camera ready for the podium pictures, because this hasn't been decided yet. And also doubling back to your point, at the World Championships, open, yeah, dog, get on the podium. If it's a bronze or silver, I guarantee you, 30 years from now, when you're talking to your kids, grandkids, whatever, they're going to think it's cool as hell that you're on the world championships. And whether it's bronze, silver, or gold, it's going to be amazing to have a medal, period. It's just, where do you go? Because historically, you're an all in type of guy, but it depends how all in you. To your point, did those fellas go 9 for 9 and he actually broke Russell's world record total and he's 840, whatever? All right. Well, I don't know. But is he 802 like South Africa? And things didn't work out the way you wanted, you're going to be like, oh, guess what? Guess what?
And I know Duran says something along the lines of like, I want everyone to have their best day. I don't want to beat anyone on their bad day. I'm not like that. I'm a competitor. If you have a bad day, good for you. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to take what I can. I don't care. I hope Delaney and Duran have a bad day so I can come first. That'd be wonderful.
Like, dude, I, you know what? When people like, I get it for sure. I prefer to beat you on a good day. But if you're like, I'm the same way when people say that. If I'm in your shoes, I'm telling myself, you know what? Could probably use you missing a couple lifts. You know what?
I don't care how I beat you. I just want to beat you.
Yeah. Like a win's a win.
Yeah, the best man is the one who shows up on the day. If you don't show up, that's your problem.
That's right. That's right, exactly.
I doubt that this caliber of lifter, they're not going to do that. But like you said, I'm if we're going to talk like world strategy, I'm good with podium. I also don't think that this is my last worlds. Like for me and a lot of these guys like Adam, Edo, I think Ina as well. It's our first year in the open. This is my second open championship, like my second open meet at all. So this is just the first of many in my eyes. So Delaney and Durance can have their little battle, but I'll be there at some point.
What are you expecting from Inohoro? Seeing how he's not posting a shitload, huh? Neither are you though.
I think.
Are you playing it quiet on purpose, or because I'm not? You don't honestly, always post a lot.
So the way I post is I just kind of post whatever I want, and I kind of get bored sometimes of just posting like comp lifts. That's why, like, at the moment of this at least, my last 3 posts have been me RDLing with just like a continuation caption.
You posted you doing cable biceps.
Okay, I post whatever I want. I don't care.
Cable biceps. And I mean, you were working it. You repped it out.
I started crying. Yeah, those were the. I don't think anyone else at Worlds has worked as hard as I have with those cable bicep curls. I think I'm the hardest worker in the room. I think Enna is a bit of a shit poster. I know where his head's at because I'm a bit of a shit poster. His training right now, it looks really bad and it's fake. It's there's no way that like even injured, even like crippled, he's not pulling 240 as like a top.
Yeah, like what was all this about? I'm watching this because Enna has dealt with injuries before, so I wasn't sure what to expect with him in versus Jurans at Euros. That rematch, I thought would have, because he could have outpulled and pulled for something different at Worlds. So when it came to Euros, I'm like, this is going to be good. He got injured. Jurans won anyways, but Jurans ended up doing 820.5. Like maybe he's going to win whether or not he get injured or not. If we're honest, who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know where Enna's top end is. Where is Enna? Like, is Enna's
Enna's in the shadows. We are not going to know where Enna is until pulls.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're going to get hints of it. You're going to see him squat like 295, 300, and be like, okay, he's not dead. It's Enna. If you've looked at it historically, his squat kind of like has exploded. So I can definitely see him squatting like 290, 295.
Right.
And that's when you know, like, so I think at Euros he injured his quad, right? So you're going to see pretty quickly if Enna's on or not based off of squats. If he ends up squatting like 240, then it's like, okay, yeah, he's injured. He's out of the race. Forget about him. Even with his pull. But he'll probably be opening around like 260, 270. As soon as you see that, okay, yeah, he's on. Like anything he posts leading up to this, I'm not even just taking it with like a grain of salt. Like unless it's an actual training post, I'm just brushing it aside. It's mental gaming, but it's too obvious. I think maybe he is actually injured and I'm like gassing him up for no reason. And he's sitting there like, thank you, Nick. No, 240 was my top single. I doubt it.
Interesting.
Even when I've been like broken down, I can still pull like 270.
Does that yeah. Does that like does it help? Does it make it too cloudy where people are like don't know where he's at? Or do you think, man, you might as well post it because we all see you coming? It's not gonna, we all know you're pulling last, and we probably like, do you think Enna's pulling for gold? Is he built like that? Is he just that guy who's like
I
doing it?
think I think mentally, if we're gonna call it, based off of like what I've heard from Enna, um, yes, I think that that's just the kind of guy he is, and he's the only one with that kind of potential. I think that like I'm pretty limited on the day to what I can pull, whereas Enna's capable of like true Hail Mary pulls.
It's
Like in
crazy.
in in his like style of pulling is everything too. If he just wedges in hard enough, if he like gets everything just right and can hold on to it, if like the stars genuinely align, he can pull like close to 900. Why not? Right? Whereas like even like for me, I kind of just need to be strong on the day. If I'm not strong on the day, it doesn't matter how well I do everything. It's not there, right? So I think that like Anna Anna's been very vocal about wanting to be top dog. I know that like he's been on podcasts before talking about like 840, 850 being the one to bring Russ back into the IPF, being sort of
Mhm.
like, you know, so I can't see him settling for bronze, settling for silver. If it comes down to it, why wouldn't he load up for gold? Like I don't think that I'm going to get deadlift gold unless Ina misses his third. And I think that that's kind of likely, if we're being frank. I think that
Oh,
I think he'll get prideful, a little overzealous. He's gonna go for first place, gonna miss on that, and I'm gonna say go deadlift gold.
you might even take what's the world record?
It's only 362 and a half right now. Crazy sentence that was. It's only 362 and a half.
Yeah,
But
that's insane for an 83. But so you could take, depending on, obviously you're not going to load up more than you need. If your eyes are, if they go 9 for 9, the two top dogs, and your eyes are bronze, you're probably going to load up for bronze and not the world record. Or how? What do you
I
think?
have no game plans at the moment. It is very much just whatever's there on the day. Like you need to be adaptable. I don't have any set numbers, any game plans. When I get there, like June 15th is when we'll figure it out what's going on.
Damn.
I think that's been like a huge part of growing as a lifter because, like I said, I've been lifting now since I was 16, now 23. I've had a lot of really bad meets, and I think recently I've matured a lot as a lifter in terms of like meet decisions, and that's pretty much come down to just we'll see what's there on the day. Don't even decide openers until like a couple days out. Just when you're there, you're there. If you're trying to metagame it beforehand, there's way too many unknown variables, and it also doesn't matter, right? You have a minute to hand in your attempt. That's more than enough time to think about things. You don't need to have like a spreadsheet 3, 4 weeks out. I think
Do
that's insane.
at this point, right now, and this could change. No one's holding it to you. What means more to you? Podium finish, world record deadlift.
Podium finish.
Yeah, I would say so too myself.
I think my deadlift, in terms of it as a on the platform, I don't want to be known as a deadlift specialist. I absolutely am, but I just want it to be a huge part of my total. Like
Mhm.
I honestly just want to be a competitive lifter. I don't actually care for being sort of like that freak show lifter at the end of a meet where it's like, okay, well, now that everything's settled, Adam Jansen takes gold, no way anyone's catching him, but Nick Manders is coming out to deadlift, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
I want to be in contention for podium all the time. I think that having a huge deadlift gives you a better advantage than any other lift, right? Like a squat specialist doesn't get the same advantage as a deadlift specialist because we know exactly what we need to pull. You don't know exactly what you need to squat. So I'm happy that my deadlift is my specialty, but I don't want to be known, or do I want to just completely focus and hone in on the deadlift purely? I don't want to be a freak show lifter, if you will.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree, man. Like I like the record in that like it'll be the biggest feat of strength ever accomplished in the 83s ever. Period. Full stop. The deadlift record will be that. Like you will have, it would be it is the biggest single display of strength in that weight class ever. That's pretty cool. I do agree. To say that, actually, now that I say that, I'm like, holy shit, that sounds really cool, doesn't
Actually,
it?
I changed my mind. Give me that.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, that's in my Instagram bio.
Wait, I don't want bronze.
Yeah,
Ryan, shut up. I
yeah.
don't want bronze. I want the record. And then I'm gonna
But
go to 93. I'm gonna
that's right.
take that record.
That's right. That's right. But oh, speaking of, I wanted to ask you that. How long do you see yourself as an 83?
No,
Because you're
not
a
that
young
much
dude.
longer. And I'm tall for
You
83.
are tall for 83.
I'm not tall, but I'm tall for 83, yes.
How tall are you?
5'9".
That's tall for an 83.
For 83, yeah, it's tall.
So what do you think? How long do you, is it tough for you to cut to 83?
No, I do a lot of cardio. I walk a lot. I watch what I eat. I'm pretty lean, but I also don't like being big. Like I don't actually like being like a thick boy. So I'm pretty comfortable at 83, but I don't think I'm as competitive as I could be, for sure. Like I think I've taken like a huge hit in terms of like competitive aptitude just because I have to be so lean. Um, how long do I think I'll be 83?
Yeah.
Probably a good while still, but ask me again in a year.
Because you
Invite me
are.
back on the show in a year. I'll make a cool announcement. We're moving up to 105. We're skipping 93.
Holy
Actually, we're moving back down to 74. I want the
That's
record
right.
back.
That's
No.
right.
I definitely would be more competitive at 93. I think at my height, maybe even like 105, but I don't ever want to get there. I would definitely cap out at 93.
It's just a freaking huge jump, is the thing. It's 10 kilos, 22 pounds of body weight. Like you don't obviously have to fill it out right away, but there's going to be that's a lot of body weight size. And you are lean, you're right. But I'm 5'9" as well. I don't like I'm a little vain. Look at like my fucking nickname, Six Pack Lapadat, so I'm vain. But I can't hide it. But I like being lean. I can't picture you being chubby. Put it that way.
I already was in high school.
Were you really?
I've seen what I was like. Yeah, I bulked from like 140 as like a grade niner. A grade 9 or 10, I started like training and working out and eating. I graduated like 200 pounds.
Holy
Like I,
smokes. No kidding.
so I know what I look like chubby. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. See, I can't picture you being chubby. And
Yeah.
but throwing on 22 pounds is freaking difficult. Do you do
Yeah.
nutrition? Like, do you have would you get a nutrition coach and be like, I got to do
I
it?
would never get a coach with anything. I've never had a
Really?
coach and I will never get a coach.
Why? Why is that? That's fascinating.
I would get bored. I view powerlifting as a creative outlet. As much as it is like, it's discipline. You go in, you work hard. I also very much view it as a way to showcase my creativity. Um, in terms of like programming, in terms of what movements to do, problem solving. Um, and yeah, I think that handing those reins over to somebody else, I would burn out so incredibly quick that I don't think it would be good for me long term. I think that maybe like in my last hurrah, I can give like the reins to someone for like a year, but even then, you can't effectively coach somebody after a year. So I just can't see myself ever doing it.
Wow. What about like, do you have someone that'll look at your lifts? Like if you do squats and you're like, is this squat high? If you do bench, you're like, is this pause, pass? Like that could be training partners who we do that. You're like, check me from the side. You got that kind of stuff at least or no?
I definitely did have it was a resource that benefited me a lot growing up and especially as like a sub junior as a junior having a lot of group chats that would bully me. You send in some training footage and they're like, Nick, absolutely not. What the hell is that? Oh man, you should have seen some squats I had going into 2018 nationals. It is a miracle. I managed not just one but two squats on the platform. These things were insane, but I got absolutely roasted and toasted for those. And yeah, I think that was of great benefit to me. Especially being able to like not just take it, but take it as constructive criticism. Having friends and also just like lifters that you look up to. I was in some very beneficial group chats, and having them tell you like, look, you can't do this if you want to be a good lifter, if you want to progress. And as a resource, yeah, like having sort of peers in a way that would give you that is definitely something that benefited me. I think would benefit anybody. But I think I've gotten to a point now where like I've had enough meets where I mean I've bombed out twice. One was because I'm stupid. The other one was because I was stupid, but like less so, more prideful than
Yeah.
just pure ignorance. I've had like a lot of bad meets. I've went 3 for 9. I've went 4 for 9. Um, I'm at a point where like it doesn't really matter what anybody says to me if I don't tell it to myself. Like I could have like the best names in powerlifting telling me that a squat's high, but I need to just tell myself that a squat is high. So I am at that point now where like I can be objective with my training. Like I've
Mhm.
looked at it, I've been self-coached and self-governed for so long that I can look at my training and I can be decently objective, decently like departed from it to be at least effective enough that like I mean, I'm going to Worlds. I'm nominated fourth. I can't be being I'm not that bad at coaching myself. I
No,
can't be.
no, yeah, no, well, no, you've done well. Yeah, for sure. You won a huge battle of Canadian Nats, and we'll see what happens at Worlds. What about the nutrition side? If it's out of your element, in terms like bulking up, if you're gonna do like, do you track calories?
I don't track anything. I just like
Mm.
intuitively eat and everything, but I'm also like so in tune with it. Like I don't know. I feel like at this point it's so ingrained into like my daily life and in my schedule. I eat very similarly day to day that I can adjust on the fly very easily. Um, I also just take in a lot of information, both like nutrition and like biomechanically and all that. Like I like to learn as much as I can that I don't want to say that I don't think nutrition is that hard, but for me, it's not.
Mm.
Like everything feels very intuitive at this point in terms of nutrition. In terms of training, not as much all the time, but even then, I still think I have enough knowledge and enough skill sets that I can manage myself through more or less everything at this point. I feel extremely well equipped. And that's because I've been doing it all on my own without any sort of like coaching, mentorship, anything, just learning constantly day in, day out for the last, 7 years.
Here,
So
here's here's the thing. Like, I get where you could be like, if I was to hand my reins off to whomever, whether it's like it could be the best one of the like best coaches, best nutrition, whatever. Even if it improved performance a little bit, you could be like, if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, like if I genuinely like problem solving, I generally like investigating my own lifting, programming for myself, and like you said, expressing myself on the platform through doing this. If you lose that, why are you doing it?
yeah, what's the
What are we
point?
yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, like I can make you 5% better. And that 5%, well, yeah, but am I gonna but I'm doing this 100% of the time. I'm doing this every day. Like powerlifting. I gotta enjoy this. It's monotonous if it isn't.
Yeah.
So I do get it.
I mean,
It's
the point is that you would win, right? Like there's the argument to be made that like maybe if I had a coach, I would win this worlds, right? Um, but on one hand, I don't really care if that was the point. Like I want to do it on my own. And on the other, I feel like I'm almost like in too deep at this point. Like I've coached myself this far, I might as well take it to the end. Like I don't know, I feel like maybe I get a little too committed to the bit sometimes. Like I posted Frog on the Floor for like all my Instagram stories for so long.
what is
Or
that? What's going
it's
on
just a
there?
song. It's just a song. Like there was no like there was no like greater meaning behind it. There was nothing symbolic behind it. I thought it was a funny song. I was like, what if I post this multiple times in a row?
Oh
Like
God.
I get a little too committed to the bit. And I think maybe
Yeah.
self-coaching at this point, maybe I'm just too committed to the bit and it's like, I can't get away from it.
It'd be interesting to see you at 33. I want to, but I mean, this is fucking 10 years away. God knows what's going to happen. What do you think? You going to be in the game at 33?
Nah,
No.
not competitively. I'll still powerlift. I'll probably be like at that point I'd hope to be like coaching like a wide roster of lifters. But being a competitive athlete, like going to worlds still at 33, no.
Why not? Why do you say it? That's interesting you say that.
I mean, burnout's got to happen eventually. Like 7 years in, like it's been a long climb to open worlds. I know that like a lot of people they'll tune in and be like Nick Manders just out of junior, he's a phenom. I've been grinding away since I was 16. So like getting to here, it's been tiring. Um like I'm not tired yet, by any means, but like I'm starting to feel it a bit, like mentally, of like
Mm.
this is getting monotonous. Like to be the best of the best, you need to like do the same things, high effort, day in, day out. I've been doing it. I'm not tired yet, but it isn't as fresh as I was when I was like a 16-year-old. So I imagine by the time I'm in my late 20s, I don't know. You gotta like you gotta throw in the towel at some point. And I'm not saying it like, oh, there's the deadline, but I think it's better to have sort of like that range where you can start looking at it and be like, look, I told myself back when I was 23 that by the time I'm 28, if I don't put on X amount of kilos on my total every year, it's not worth it anymore. At some point, yeah, you got to like switch it up. There's more to life. Life is about experiencing things. I don't want to just be a competitive powerlifter my whole life, right?
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, it's interesting. We'll see how it all plays out. Because I remember having Taylor on the podcast a few years ago, and the episode was titled "The Last Dance" because the Last Dance series just came out. Taylor had been like he's been at the World Championships in the Open since I think 2016. That was my first time I was commentating too, and I think that was his first one as well. And but he was like the Arnold Classic 2015. He's been all over the world, and he started getting. Now he's got like a family, kid, for a job outside of powerlifting, like in like that's stressful. And it's kind of in terms of burnout. He was definitely feeling at moments. I think he was genuinely felt like at that moment, you know, things pass, but when you catch someone at the right moment, when they're feeling it, and you're like, how you feeling right now? I think in that conversation, he was talking like, I just wanted one more big push. I don't know how long I could do this. It's getting tough. And he's like, if I'm honest, and injuries stack up and like, you know, the type of volume you have to hit, whatever. And then that was like 2020. And then 2021, he did 838.5, and then, you know, Sheffield, blah, blah, blah. And he's still here. And now it feels like now he's 34 and injuries are stacking up. And, you know, he's pushed his body through like more than a guy his size should be probably have ever done. And now it kind of feels like, I think when the end starts coming, sometimes maybe it turns around when you get around that age and you're like, I'm going to squeeze this for all it's worth. I ain't going out yet. And all of a sudden, just when you were like, I thought I'd be okay with it, I'm not okay with it. Like, I'm not going silent in that dark night. Like, not everyone's the same, but it'll be interesting because I don't know. When it rolls around, sometimes you're like, nah, I got some more to say. I got to give these boys hell. And maybe the end, there's something else to be said for when the end's around the corner and you know it. When you think the end is like 15 years away, it's daunting. It's like, my God, I feel like I'm burning out now. When you feel like I come up to you and I say, you got 2 years and you're done, you'll be like, whoa, I can grind every day.
Good 2 years. Yeah.
You're like, you're going to remember my name. Like it'll be, I don't know.
And that's just like, I'm no oracle. I don't know where I'm going to be in 7 years.
Right.
But I think that like, if I just plan it, like I'm going to be in this game until I'm not anymore. It feels too much like a liminal space.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well now there's no sense of urgency and there's also no sense of it ending. And that's terrifying in its own way, where it's like, true. I'm just powerlifting forever. I guess this is it. I don't really like that's uncomfortable to cope with. The idea that like if I'm in the gym doing the same bench workout that I've been doing in the entire macro microcycle and I'm in here, this is it. That's uncomfortable. I don't like that. I'm at least going to put an end date in my head of like, okay, maybe after this point we're going to be done. Then when we get there, we can reassess.
So I mean, that's totally fair.
For my own personal mental health, I'm saying, you know, in like 7 years, I'm done.
Yeah.
In 7 years, though, I could be like, job's not finished.
Job's
not finished.
Yeah.
I don't need to be 20. I pull 900. I don't know.
Right. That's right. That's right. The new 20-year-old kid. Yeah.
I finally opened my first TikTok. I don't know.
That's right. That's right. No, it's true. That's fair. And it is true that it can be daunting if you don't have some kind of a plan. And yeah, you know what's going to be fun is like when you are 30 and you double back and you start listening to these podcasts. You know, like we just did this one. We're going to keep doing them. And you go back though when you're like 30 and be like, let me listen to me at 23. And you're talking and all the things. You're like, wow.
God, I was stupid.
I mean, you could do that. I could do that to myself freaking just like last year. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. It's also different timestamps you were in life. sometimes it's weird. I'm glad I didn't start podcasting until later in life, but you guys are like full on growing up in this, and things are all getting documented right
Oh
now.
yeah. My
It-
my like I have documentation online from when I was like 8.
yeah,
Like my life is online. I
I
told you
know.
I'm a child of the internet. It's uncomfortable.
I know. That's where it's got to feel a whole lot freaking different for sure. But on the flip side, it'll be cool as hell when you're older to look back and all of this is you will be like when you want to remember what was it like going into my first open worlds, and you could go back to this conversation leading into and then afterwards maybe like holy shit, it's all documented for it.
All
Like
there. My
yeah,
thoughts out on paper. It's like
yeah,
I've journaled it to 1,000 voices or 1,000
ah,
ears.
yeah. It's gonna be a lot more than that, but don't freak yourself out. Do you want to play the name game, sir?
Yeah,
Where
sure.
okay,
I love
so
games.
I say a name, you give a response. It could be one word, 2 words, it could be a story. It could
Gonna
be as
get
much as you want, but it could literally be as little as one word if you like.
I'm gonna get canceled.
You might get canceled. Yeah, let's
I'm gonna go to the washroom
you,
before we do
okay,
this. So
sounds
if I
good.
do
Sounds
get
good.
canceled, I don't, shit
Yeah, yeah.
myself.
Fair enough.
I don't know
Oh,
if I'll be able to keep it to 1 or 2 words.
that's
I
okay.
feel like I always have a lot of thoughts on my mind.
That's all right. That's all right. Can be as little as much as you like. First one, Adam Jansen.
He's my best friend. I hope he loses. I hope I beat his ass at Malta. There's no way I let him win after this, but I hope he does good. I
He's
love
looking
him.
good though, huh?
He looks so strong
He looks strong as shit.
and
Canada's
angry.
he looks angry and he looks strong. Let's see what happens. Canada's pretty good to have a 1-2 punch here. We always seem to have 283s.
And if we could just meld into one lifter,
That'd be
in
awesome.
subtotal, I could pull. It'd be
Oh,
over
frig, dude.
for everybody. But we
If we
can't
could
do
do
that.
some, if we could do some pinch, you know what? I forget what nation tried to do that at one of the worlds. They actually sent out a different, it was a smaller nation, and they sent out like a different lifter for deadlifts. And somebody caught it and was, but the thing is, they were like a lower nominated lifter where you almost wouldn't know it. If somebody in the top 5 tries that, it's like, we all know who you guys are. Come
Me and
on, man.
Jansen are gonna try it. We
Yeah,
look very similar. We
exactly.
look like the same person. I'm
Exactly, right?
I'm blonde now. He's dirty
Or
blonde.
if it's like you and Caffrey, for God's sake, it's like, all right, come on, guys. But this was like they were lower on the nominations. No one really knew who they were. And someone caught, like, hang on a second. And they were like, is that the same dude? And it took a couple, hang on a minute. And they went to the video review and like, they had to go into the back and be like, hey guys, there's no pinch hitting in this, huh? Like, you same dude every time. Anyways, Sean Jin.
I love him. He's a bit hard to handle for a lot of people, but I understand him at least. I have a spiritual connection to him, if you will.
You
But
guys talking DMs and whatnot?
bit, yeah, a
Yeah.
bit. I think he's probably the future of 83. I mean, he nearly locked out 825. Like that was close,
Mhm.
right? And 825 would have been huge at the time. I also like him as a heel. I think he could do a bit of a better job being an entertaining heel. I think he's sort of like a heel, not for the sake of it. I just don't know if he knows fully how to present himself as such. But yeah, we were talking about heels, and I think that he has the potential to be one of the better ones, especially with how much he riled up Delaney. To have Delaney make like an entire produced post after him, like
Dude,
that's got to be like top 10 powerlifting heel moments. Great
dude,
stuff.
I mean, if you like heel stuff, Mike, no one would have saw that Delaney. I don't know, was that a diss track or what? It was crazy. Like I saw that and I was like, Delaney, someone can't catch a beef with you unless they have 5K they want to drop on a video and get down like that.
Yeah.
Because Delaney will be like, take 6 months. He'll collect data. He'll take like a chunk of change and be like, I'm coming in hot. And Delaney, I don't know. You haven't met Delaney, right?
I've not met Delaney.
He is like the nicest freaking guy. Oh, his parents are like crazy nice. His family is like super duper nice. So it is so crazy that Delaney did it. If you actually knew Delaney, but like Sean had been going at Delaney for like a long time. Like it was
Yeah.
building, like he was riling up the bear. And then eventually, the bear is gonna bite you. But Yeah, it was. I did not see that coming. Nobody did because it was Delaney.
It was
But
great.
but it was a really good done. Even Sean was like, that was a really good video. Like that
It
that
was a
video was.
it was a bit overdone, but I mean,
Well, I mean, for what it was, it is.
uh, I feel like his name, Delaney's name, might come up on the game, so we'll get to that when we get to that. I don't
Okay,
know.
fair enough. You got a feeling on that, do you?
I don't know. They've all been 83 so far. I feel like we're just gonna name 83. We're gonna run the historical list.
I'd be crazy not to drop the people you're going against, but I also agree. Sean, I've met. Like I didn't know him previously. I'll throw my 2 cents in there too while we're going. Um, if I only knew him off social media, it would be a totally different impression. I met him in Turkey. I seen him at PA Nats, and like I know what you mean. And I've had him on the podcast and talked to him. Where like it's different. It'd almost be a shame, like where some people can get pigeonholed onto just how you know them on social media. And I think probably people they could do that for me or you too. Whereas when they actually meet you, hang out with you a little bit, they're like, okay, it's a little bit different of an impression. So I'm glad I met Sean anyways. The next person actually, sir, is Delaney Wallace.
Yeah. All right. A bit much for me. A bit corny. It's a bit corny. I don't mesh with it. It always sucks to hear when people are like, no, he's actually just a really nice guy, because I don't want to hear that. I want to hate him. He's my competitor. Like I don't want to like him.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like someone when they're like so aggressively nice, but then they can almost like double back towards like you're so nice that it becomes corny. I don't like the dancing. I'll be honest. I think that the dancing isn't great. The way he came out to the bar at Sheffield, I thought was a bit comical, a bit corny. Didn't really like it. I wish I was a more competitive lifter so I could really just like hammer in like Sean Jin does. But like it does get to the point where like I could talk as much shit as I want and then he'll just beat me and I just look like, a small fry.
Yeah, and he puts aside $3,000 for a video. And you're like,
yeah,
God damn it,
and
I
it's
need
like
to win.
really nails it in that he's
Yeah.
better than me, and I'm like, look, Delaney, I just don't like the dancing.
Yeah.
But he definitely runs me as like a bit corny. He's not my favorite personality in the powerlifting space.
He's eccentric. He is a nice guy. Sorry, I gotta say.
I'm sure if I meet him in Malta, you're
gonna hate
really
it because you're gonna like him.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel really bad about the way.
Yeah.
But then I'm gonna see him like do that stupid little like zombie walk out to the platform, and that hate's gonna be reinvigorated in my heart.
You know what?
Looks so stupid.
You know what though? It's you know how we were talking about like sports need heels, need everybody and whatnot. I actually I like the fact that he does stuff like that, and some people get riled up, and some people like it. Here's what it is: just fucking stand out. We need people to stand out. If there was just a silhouette of people walking up to the deadlift, and for most people, I know Jessica's wind up arm. When she winds up, I know Sean's with the arms. I know Delaney's obviously, but like we do need certain things. And it's good. I hear other people. I'm like you. I don't watch a lot of other sports. I watch MMA and boxing and powerlifting. It's kind of weird. But when I listen to buddies talk about other sports, they're like, I hate that guy. And I'm like, I mean, you don't know that guy, but they don't like how he carries himself or whatever. We do need that.
It's good that you hate them. It's a negative for him, I feel, because it brings a lot of negative connotations to his name, but it's good overall for the sport because it also makes more effective heels. Like you need someone to be heel against. And I think he's perfect for that.
But it's negative for him for only some people. Like you could be in group chats and all your friends are like, I hate that too. Yeah. But I guarantee you there's going to be other people like, I love Delaney Wells, blah, blah, blah.
Look at this little salsa dance.
There's a lot of like, I don't know. Either way, people are talking, man. It stands out. It is personality and it's whatever. We just need personalities. It makes it easier when if you just watch if you didn't know powerlifting too well, but you're like, okay, let me see if I can get into this. You're going to remember who's that guy and it'll be in like, it'll be relevant. And some people like, I hope that guy loses. I don't like, and other people like that guy's awesome. I love his energy, whatever, but you will divide the room. And some people like, no, fuck that. I want him to lose now. It's whatever. But
I'll give Delaney this. He's not boring.
He ain't boring.
He's not boring.
He's not.
I can say that. He's not boring.
There it is. He ain't boring. And he's not a bad lifter. He's not a bad lifter. That's for sure.
He's like,
Yeah, all right. There you go. Agree to disagree.
he didn't take Russ's record, so like, is he
That's
that
right.
good?
That's right. That's true. That's true. Well, how about this? Quick question for you. Yes or no? Russ's record falls in Malta.
No,
Oh,
it's too
gotcha.
close. I think whoever sets their like sights on that is going to like, it's an Icarus moment.
Could be. The only way would like obviously Jurens pushes him, but you might be right that maybe it doesn't come down to that. I don't know. It's gonna
I
be
know that
interesting.
I think Duran's has the most potential for it because, like I said, I think that Delaney's Sheffy day, it looked kind of capped out. I don't know how much more he has. Historically, he doesn't make that much progress between meets, let alone a tight turnaround like Sheffy to Worlds. Duran's had an exceptional 820 and a half, but also he kind of lifts easy until he doesn't, it seems.
Mm.
So putting another, what is exactly Russ's total again?
It's
Uh,
early 8-4. It's
40.
841 or
Yeah.
843. So yeah, it's really
Does
short.
Jurens have another 20 some kilos on top of the competition of having Delaney right there? I don't think so. I think that anyone that sets their sight on like I want to win it all and take Russ's record,
It's all
it's they're
situational.
they're gonna be a victim of pride, the deadliest sin. It'll be biblical.
Dude, you got away with words, man. Very well said. You dropped a couple sound bites in there. I like it. So how about the next one? Jurens Kengamo.
He's just nice. There's nothing much to say about him. He's like nice. I think he's very inspiring and that like he's been around for so long. I think that's cool. Like, what did he come at Calgary Worlds? Because he competed there. He came like
Way, yeah,
8th, ninth,
yeah,
13th.
way far back. And he's
Yeah.
now relevant in on the podium in his mid-30s. Full
Yeah.
dad, a job where he works 10 hours a day, married with children, mid-30s, and now he's peaking. It is inspiration.
Yeah. When we were talking about like, oh, when do you think you'll end? Honestly, Jurens comes to mind a lot because I remember talking to, I think it was uh James Adcock, about how Jurens was talking with him and Nathan about like, oh, you guys are the future. I'm never gonna be relevant again. Like it's all you guys. And then he just like hit that sudden burst and now he's the best,
That's crazy.
which so like even you don't know when you're done.
That's true.
Jurens thought he was done. Now he's back, better than ever, actually relevant.
Yeah.
Frankly, he wasn't back in like 2018. No one cared.
I mean,
But
he's
now
straight up,
he's
yeah, he's straight up said he was an also ran. He was in the middle of the pack, just happy to be there. He was around.
iconic because he had like arguably a cringier deadlift setup than Delaney, where he would like push back into like the platform and
Dude,
like
see, I
fall
love
back
those.
on the
See,
banner.
I love
No,
all
I mean
those.
I thought his was like way cool, but I was like, if anyone hates this, I get it. But like, oh, it's so over the top. Like he would like push back
Yeah,
against
he
the
did.
banner
Yeah,
until
he
he almost
did.
like fell off the platform, and it's like you don't need that much space. Relax.
Yeah, he
It was
does. Yeah,
hilarious.
he does. He needs more space. I want that banner back 10
Yeah,
feet next
we
time.
need to put the platform on a football pitch and let him just sprint
Yeah,
at the bar.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, dude, what do you see? I don't know if you saw Mo in the 105s from Britain. He wasn't like it in Sheffield. He was at Sheffield too, but he was suffering cramps. I remember commentating, being like he comes out like a freaking madman for deadlifts. He's got a monster deadlift, but he comes out like a madman for him. He's all like wound up, but it helps get his adrenaline going. I built him up so much for Sheffield. Like, wait until you see him come out for deadlifts. Start
Then he
suffering
came out
some.
all cramped up.
Yeah, he came out cramped up, was not hooting and hollering at all. I'm like, well, anyways, never mind. Take
Wait
my
till
word for
you
it.
see him, and he's like,
Yeah,
ah.
full body cramping. He's very mild mannered. I'm like, all right. Anyways, never mind. Moving on. But all right, next name, sir, Kafui Hochoyame, and let me give you Hochoyame actually means nobody knows this, and I
Wait,
shit you.
you said it in a podcast. I don't exactly remember what it was. It was something money. It was like the richest or something. What
It's
is it?
money is power.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're like this is like a character from fucking The Wire or Power, like those gangster movies. It's like, that's crazy, dude. That's like a SoundCloud rapper. Money over power. The only thing better would be if his last name translated to money over bitches. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be crazy, man. But anyways,
Um, a bit of guilt. I feel almost bad. after Nats because I know that he was quite down immediately after the meet because like he's been representing Canada, he's been winning Nats, for a while, and then to like come third, it's like you pretty much have no potential now to like go to Worlds, which I'm pretty sure his plan was to do that. And he also had an exceptional meet. With me and my like close friends and everything, I was sort of like running it as like I think the fight is going to be between me, Adam, and Kyle. I kind of wrote off Kafui. I was like, I don't think that he's gonna be up there with us, really. And then he had the meet of his life. And, by the time my third poll came around and he just hit his and he had 785, I was at a very real threat of coming third. And I was like, I didn't expect this at all. I didn't expect him to have these numbers. He had an incredible meet, and I almost felt bad that I had beat him. Um, yeah, I think I gained a lot of respect for him that day. Not saying I didn't overtly respect him before, but I definitely wrote him off as a bit of a lifter, and I kind of felt like, me and Adam are gonna bring about this new age of like Canadian competitiveness, but Caffey was right there with us. He was in that age. If he was going to Worlds with that 785, it'd be no different than us. And yeah, I just have a lot of respect for him after Nats that I don't think I would have had pre-Nats, frankly.
It's good to have three guys in it too. Like obviously, like we said before, all three you guys at one point was 1, 2, 3 in history of all CPU. It's good to have a supporting cast where it's like someone starts missing, it just opens up, right? It just to have one of those threats from behind, threat from in front, and you're like, damn it, this is good lifting. It is crazy too. It's going to be different because Kafui was on every Worlds team since 2019, and this will be the first time in a long time someone else besides Kafui will be at Worlds. But we got two new people, man. It's the cycle continues, man. It is what it is. There's always new faces. Let's see what happens. Anna Horo from Hungary.
I'm better than him. I'm gonna outpull him.
Oh, damn, dude. If you outpull Anna Horo, that's massive, obviously.
I mean, he is sort of in that one regard my like compatriot. He's the only one that could ever challenge me on a deadlift, and I'm the only one that could ever challenge him on a deadlift, to be frank. There's no one else in the 83 class that can even come close to us. So in that sense, I do feel like we have a sort of, camaraderie. But I think I'm a better powerlifter than him. I can bench. That's about it. I think that like our deadlifts and our squats are close enough, but I can bench. So I just think that in that regards, if Enna ever learns how to bench, there will be more of a discussion. But it's like I don't think he can outpull me by that much, and I think that no one else can say that. And in a way, I'm very happy. I'm happy that there is someone to push me. I can't imagine. I can't imagine there not being an Enna, and I hope that he can't imagine there not being a Nick, because I feel like that'd be very boring to be like so far ahead of everybody else on one lift that like, I don't know, you're just kind of pulling for the sake of it. But now it's like, okay, we're always sort of pulling against each other. At least I know that when he originally pulled 350, I had just pulled like 331, and at that time, like 331 was supposed to be like an unofficial top ranking, and then he pulled 350, and I was like, okay, got a little battle going on now. So I've always been chasing him. I'm right there now. I'm 1.5 off, but it'll definitely be the only deadlift battle I'll ever have.
How about, yeah, this is a special moment.
Unless Angelo is listening to this, in which case, if I ever come down the US, I'm gonna have a deadlift battle. But USAPL versus IPF.
How about this? How about this question? At the IPF Worlds, and keep in mind, and I agree with you. I think he's probably going to pull for gold, which means he may let's if he misses his third, this question all depends on what you peg his second's going to be. Yes or no? Will we have 2 800-pound successful lifts at Worlds in Malta?
Yes.
I think it's a high probability as well.
It'd be really weird if there wasn't, I think. I imagine that it'll be above 800 on the second for Enna, because 362.5 was a second. I don't think that the 240 that he's putting up is like a actual representation of his strength. Like I said, I think it's a sham. I do think he's stronger than he was at South Africa. So I can't imagine the second being less than 362.5. And I'm obviously not going to say that I'm going to pull less than 800 because that'd be stupid.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
not betting on myself failing.
Right. And you assume you'll have to pull 800 up to get on that podium.
Absolutely. There's
Yeah,
no way around it.
I think so
If I
too.
pull less than 800, I'm not going to podium. It's as
It's
simple as
so
that.
crazy. This is so crazy. This is a conversation. The fact that an 83 is like, I think I got to pull 800, over 800 pounds to get on the podium. And I think I'm going to do that. And it's so crazy we're having this conversation.
Yeah, before it was like, could anyone in 83 pull 800? And now it's like, all right, what do you think it's how much ahead of 800 is it going to be for
Yeah.
both of us?
Yeah. I can't. This is going to be such a good worlds, man. It's so freaking stacked. And this is just the 83s. All right. Here's another one. Here's one. Russell Orhe.
He's the best. I don't even like Russ that much, but like credit where it's due. He's the best. He beat Gibbs. Gibbs was the best.
Mm.
He beat Gibbs twice, right? No,
Oh, they're 1-1.
that's wrong.
They're 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1, yeah. But he did beat Gibbs. And I mean he has the IPF record. He has the USAPL record. I think he has the 90 kg USAPL record as well.
Yes, he
So I
does.
mean, he's the best. And I think the more interesting conversation around Russ is not his like lifting aptitude. I think that's pretty cut and dry. It's like his influence on the sport culturally. I think that's a lot more interesting. Like how has he changed the powerlifting landscape for better or for worse? I think for better, but that's debatable, you know. He's added in a lot of like new faces, new kids into it, like especially kids with like the Get Better brand. Now it's just Better brand or whatever. A lot of people are like, it's super cringy. The ski masks, I think they're kind of cool, but I understand why a lot of people are like, this is really lame. Because if you look at it from like too many layers, it's like you got like suburban kids that have never had any issues in their life getting their mom to spend like $80 on a Better brand ski mask so they can go to the gym and put on their TikTok tripod, yada yada. Why are you wearing a shiesty? But I think it looks cool. So I don't know. I think that Russ's cultural impact has done a lot more good than bad for the powerlifting community, and I think he's a great heel. I like Russ.
Could it be, because I would be surprised if someone could debate the opposite. Could you steel man case the opposite?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, let me hear it then. Because I'm sure I'm not saying there isn't negatives. I mean, to the point where he's actually worse, like a net negative. Not just there are some negatives, because everyone has negatives, but I mean, he's more negative than positive. Can you steel man that?
From like our perspective as like IPF lifters, I think it's a bit more difficult because we're very focused on like growth of the sport. We don't have the same sort of like historical conservatism that I would think that like the untested side would have. You don't have to delve that deep into untested powerlifting to find guys that'll be like, I remember back when untested powerlifting was just about a bunch of criminals getting together, putting as much weight as they can on the bar. Now you got these TikTok pussies, blah, 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 blah. They'll make a grand case for like teenagers ruining the sport. You got a bunch of soft kids now thinking that they're all that. Just put weight on the bar, get big, lift big, yada, yada. They're boring. But yeah, depending on how gatekeepy you are with the sport, who you want in and who you don't, there's definitely a case we made that like Russ introduces not the funnest demographic to the sport. They're a bit annoying. You got the little kids in there doing their thing. Little kids, like teenagers, have to lift. They should lift, but it's like the influence that Russ has had on them makes them a bit insufferable sometimes. They're a bit unsavory. But I'm happy that they're ultimately.
Yeah. Okay. Taylor Atwood.
He's washed.
Wow. Do you think it's over?
This is where I get canceled. This is where the powerlifting world descends down on me. This is the sound. This is the sound bite that gets put up on the KOTL story.
Jesus.
Look, Perkins just put up 825.
That's crazy.
Taylor Atwood is never going to replicate that like 8:30 meet. He's never going to do it again. I think it's over. He has too many commitments. He's gone too far down the rabbit hole of injuries. And I don't know if they have the tools they need to adapt that man in time before, like, life commitments and age just get to him. I don't think that he's ever going to reach that point of relevancy again. I think that he's going to win this Worlds, but by the skin of his teeth.
Mm.
And then after that, I don't know if he'll ever win a big championship again. I think it's getting too tight. There are too many people that are getting close to that Taylor Atwood level. And I think that his time is ticking, if not more or less over. I think Perkins has surpassed him. He will never beat Perkins again. Not that they ever will compete head to head necessarily, but year to year, if we compare their totals, I think that Perkins won this year, and it will continue that way. And then I think more and more names will take that. I think Atwood will be remembered as like one of the greatest of the sport, but I think his time is over.
I mean, it happens to every single one of the name an idol in any sport. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to have the hottest take in KOTL history. Atwood's hair sucks.
Oh,
it sucks.
Whoa.
Not good.
Not good.
Geometric and not great. My barber would hate his hair and would not cut it like that. Taylor Atwood doesn't have good hair.
Oh my God.
Change his hair. That's my KOTL take. Make that the soundbite. Taylor Atwood needs to change his hair.
Oh my Lord. I never saw that coming. Wow. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, in terms of, it'll be interesting to see how Atwood's and this World's Tim Monagatti dropping down from 83s. First off, I was like, damn it, because Tim's like, he's done like 810 or 812 at 83. Like,
I was so happy.
I mean, it'd be cool to see another guy in there at 83. However, you see some of his, when I saw like his squat and his deadlift, and I'm like, it was the same he's done at 83. And I'm like, I messaged, like, what's your body weight? No, I commented, what's your body weight? And he said, I'm walking around 75 kilos. And then I'm like, what? And then he's personal messaged me, his body weight. And he's like, I'm coming, dog. And I'm like, freaking, I don't know what he's going to do. Meet day, whatever, this kind of talk happens all the time, right? Let's see what happens meet day. I got you. But if he has full capabilities as a 74, yeah, this is going to be a crazy, because Taylor's not 100%. He's injured. The turnaround's insane. He's not 100%. He won't be 100% for Worlds. So it's going to be probably sub 800. And if it's sub 800, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
780, 790.
Because he's banged up, man, and he had no time to recuperate. From being injured, he's like, I guess I just got to train injured again. He trained injured for Sheffield, and no time off afterwards, by the way. And now he's going to train through those same injuries for Worlds because he doesn't have a choice. And then after Worlds, his hopefully for like Atwood's team is win and don't do anything until Sheffield again. And then you actually have an off season. Let the injuries go away and train back up. But he's got no time. It's just the schedule. What are you going to do? This is sports. That you don't make your own schedule.
Out of the pan, into the fire.
It is what it is, man. So it'll be a character performance. If he wins, it's gonna be through grit and teeth, and it'll be like entertaining to watch because it's gonna be crazy. And then afterwards, sorry, go ahead.
I think he will win. Just like I said, by the skin of his teeth. I think it'll be way too close for comfort. We're too used to seeing Atwood have these dominant performances. And I think that this is going to be the one that makes him look mortal. I think that a lot of people might have written off Sheffield as like, he's just injured. It was a bad day. I think this is the one where people are like, maybe Atwood isn't like untouchable. Maybe he bleeds.
He bleeds. The thing is, he's still injured though. His performance will be similar to Sheffield, I think, because he's still going to be the same. Like he hasn't addressed anything. He's just going to work through it. I think we're going to get a taste of where he is for sure. If he wins this and he goes to Sheffield, now he's got like a for real off season. Then we're going to see if he can go back 800 plus and he's that. I don't, even if he doesn't do 838.5 again, he doesn't need to necessarily if he's 800 and up as a 74, unless the rest of the world starts. I don't know what Tim Monagatti is going to end up doing though. Like freaking,
Ryan, what are the odds next Sheffield wildcard pick, Austin Perkins. The odds are almost zero, but what if?
Here's the thing: if Austin comes over, and he won't like, I think it's definitely in the realm possibility Austin comes over, but he's going to want to. I think he wants to do the USAPL Nets first, and then I don't know when he's coming, if he's going to come, but I would not be shocked if Austin ends up coming. And it's got to be somewhat soon because Taylor's in his mid-30s now, man.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he went, but that head-to-head would be legendary.
It's still legendary. Yeah.
Yeah. Who is your dark horse pick for 74s? If not Atwood, then like pick a second, or like pick who's the
it's
most.
Monagatti. I think
Yeah,
Monagatti.
mine's also Monagatti. Yeah.
I honestly, I haven't seen much of his bench, and bench can be affected by body weight. So if that goes down, okay. But he was hitting 812 as an 83. So let's say he loses like 15 kilos on his bench. But if his dead and his squat remain, we're talking late 790 something. Man, like I'm telling you, it's going to be a problem, man.
You know how tall he is?
We took a picture together. He's a stitch shorter. I think he's a little shorter than me.
5'7",
5'7", 5'8".
Still tall for 74. I
Relatively
remember
tall.
when I competed 74, I was always like, oh, I'm pretty close to cutting. But for whatever reason, when you get like that lean and you're that tall, like the 1 kilo affects you so much.
100%.
Like I would have the most inconsistent performances ever. And off of the one performance that we do have as data for Tim, it worries me just in like, you're so close that even if you're training close to comp weight and your training's really good, you have so much less room for error that I'm a bit worried for Worlds. I think if he nails everything, he actually could win. Like, yeah. I think that he has the strength potential in training to like beat Atwood outright. But he's my dark horse pick for that reason, as I'm kind of worried I don't think he'll hit it.
I'm gonna pick. Hold on one second. I'm gonna pull up Tim right now, and let me take a look at that one squat dead. What are we looking at here? Okay, so for anyone listening, he squatted 292.5 kilos and deadlifted 320 kilos. And when I reposted that, and I was like, this is incredible, but what's his body weight? That cut could ruin everything.
He's like 75 soaking wet, right?
Yeah. And this is where it becomes like, but you're right. You're right in that it could still happen. Even if it's a kilo, it's still 2.2 pounds. And like, it could still fumble the bag. There's travel. He's coming from New Zealand. It's the most brutal. It's like 4 different flights. Talking to Rory, who does like podcasting with me. And he's like, dude, it's like 4 flights. It's going to be crazy. So a lot can happen still. However, in terms of raw horsepower, and threat, like it's crazy. His top end right now, and if I look at Tim's numbers and I look at Taylor's numbers right now in training, for sure Tim is ahead. But Atwood is a crazy dog who has crazy internal belief, and like he obviously knows how to win, and so I'm actually excited. I'm really excited about this.
It's the first exciting 74 in a while.
Yeah,
because frankly, it's always been, how good is Atwood gonna do? How much is he gonna win by? And now it's like, we'll see. That being said, yeah, if you're not betting on Atwood to win at this point, it's a bit weird. It's like, no,
I think I would bet on Atwood for sure.
Yeah, I would bet on Atwood. It's the safe bet.
It's the safe bet. But
I've made too many bad bets in the past. I'm making the safe bet this time.
But it's not as safe as previous years due to everything we already said. And then to your point, we're gonna have to see where Atwood is after this. Let's see. And freaking but anyways, wow, we turned into a hell of a conversation here. But then I got more names. Actually, the next one is Austin Perkins.
The new goat, the new king, not the new goat. It takes time to become the new goat. I don't like throwing that term around too much, but the new king for sure.
Is he? You mean king of that weight class or period of powerlifting? Like Atwood was period of
potentially period of powerlifting. I mean, he is finally living up to that nickname that someone gave to him. I think it might have been himself, which is a little corny, but Austin the Future Perkins.
Actually, I gave it to him.
Here. Oh, was it you? Perfect. Yeah. Okay, thank God it wasn't him. If he called himself that, I would have been like, I mean, you earned it, but like, yuck. Yeah. But yeah, finally, the future is here. I
It's
mean,
you might be right. It's like when Taylor hit his numbers, it was good enough to be the best in the world, regardless. Like all he had every single formula and tested, untested, like it was just period, right? Um, Perks. I mean, we got Bob Matthews is doing crazy shit.
oh
We'll
yeah.
see. We'll have to see. And then yeah, and then Jesus is just Jesus. So it's a little contentious. We'll have to because Jesus wasn't full power Jesus when Taylor was doing his thing. Taylor came around a time when it was obvious. Taylor pound for
Yeah.
pound. Perk, it's a little different, but he could. It's very interesting, man. It's
The only thing I'm worried about with Perk is that historically he'll have one really good meet, and I don't know if he gets complacent or if he just gets unlucky, but then it'll be followed by a string of not so good meets.
mm,
Not so good for him at least. They're still like amazing meets, but
right, right.
after he hit 800, it was a couple years before besting that with this 825, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right.
Had a bunch of meets that were like high sevens after that. So I just hope that he keeps his foot on the pedal after this 825 and continues to push, as opposed to being like, put the crown on me, I'm taking a year off. Because Turk is kind of the guy to do that. I don't know. For like what he said before.
Put the crown on me. I'll see you next year. Thank you.
No, no, he talks about like I barely eat food. And it's like maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should
Right.
eat food. A thought.
Yeah, we'll see. It's I'm not you're right. He hit the 800 and then it was a couple of years and it was when he hit the 800, I thought, "Oh my God, he's going to
Yeah,
be like by now, I don't know. I thought he would be just pushing and murdering because he's young too.
yeah,
But
and then
things
he
happen.
stopped.
I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if it was like injury or whatever, but we're at 825 now. We'll have to see what happens, man. USAPL Raw Nats is around the corner. I think he's going to go under 74 kilos because he wrote in his stories, he put, I wasn't 75 kilos. I wasn't even 74 all, and he's going to do a recap soon. And I think he wants the which I think is perfect. I talked to Perk here and there in DMs, and for historical relevance, because it's Taylor Atwood as well. You want to be under 74, even though the weight class is 75, because you're not just battling whoever shows up at USAPL Nats, you're battling history. You're battling your placement in history. You're battling if you could surpass Atwood, don't do it as a 75 because there's not much historical depth to 75 yet. 74 is the GOAT.
Yeah.
If you just and 1 kilo, to your point, 1 kilo doesn't sound like a lot. 2.2 pounds at the bottom of cutting can be though.
Yeah.
You can't do 75 and then be like, well, that's the same as 74. It's just not though. Just do it. Cut
Perk
down to
did.
70.
He was 73.9
Well, yeah, exactly.
on the dot. He was 73.9. I
Was
remember
he?
that. Yeah,
Okay.
73.9.
Okay. So you want to be below 74 like Atwood was and be like, there's the passing of the torch. It's a direct lineage, no caveats, no asterisks. Take that out. If I'm Perk, I'm like, dude, just take it out. So it's a direct lineage. Now I'm the man. And anyways, that would be my advice. Next name, we only got a few more, Doug. This thing with the name game, sometimes it's like quick rapid fire. Sometimes sometimes it instigates conversation, and I fucking love it too. Leah Babla.
I actually don't follow female powerlifting that much.
Oh, shit.
I don't. Honestly, I don't even follow weight classes that I don't compete in that much. Like
That's actually not unusual.
I don't follow 74 that much because it's been the Taylor Atwood show for too long. There's not much to follow. I follow 83 very closely for obvious reasons. I follow 93 a bit because I have a lot of people in there that I'm friends with and that I like, and also because it's decently comparable. And then honestly, 105s to 120 pluses, aside from the top dogs, I don't really know that much about. And with female powerlifting, I don't know. I'm not that involved. I'm not that directed. So I don't have many thoughts on a lot of the lifters in female powerlifting. Unfortunately, it makes me sound a bit sexist, but like
listen, I have women on, and if I'm honest, I ask them, and I've had women who be like, I don't follow the men that often because it's and some of them also I follow more my weight class as well. It's just I think it's more on a relatable sense in terms of what the weights are, so you're like, okay, this is totally relatable. Some people don't, like I've had men on that don't follow below a certain weight class because they're like, I don't know what's good, what's bad, what's what, or it's just not entertaining to them or whatever. But it's more common. It's not just men not following women, but sometimes the women come on the podcast like, I don't know the men that well. But I've heard of them. I can heard of the names, but I don't know who's who. Like I do the women, particularly the women close to my weight class. but
It's it's the competitiveness in me. Like if I'm not going to compete against you, I don't care that
what
much. Well,
would
I care. Like Jesus Oliveras, I care. But like I'm not going to follow anyone below him.
what would be with your limited knowledge? Can you give me what could you give me for Leah Babor?
I have a funny story. I don't know if I'm allowed to share,
Oh,
but that's about it.
well, is it not allowed to share because
It was
like
a group chat,
okay.
so
Don't get
I
yourself in
keep
trouble.
those private.
Yeah. No, never fumble a source.
I have very very lightly interacted with her, and that's about it.
I
I
mean,
don't even think she remembers that she interacted with me. I would highly doubt it.
oh, this was just on social media then?
Yeah, purely a group chat. Yeah,
Oh, she was in the group chat?
we're not going to go into this, Ryan.
Okay. Damn. Well, we're all gonna see each other at Worlds. She's a sweetheart. You'll like her. Everything will be fine. And then, barring nothing crazy happen in the group chat.
I mean, we could talk about the French.
That's right. That's right. Well, I mean, the French are on fire. Holy, particularly the women's, but the men's are catching up too, man. The men got some hitters.
I just don't like their squat. No one does.
Really, you don't like the squad?
No one likes their squat, man.
Um,
It's banned now.
I
Well,
don't.
they're gonna enforce it. I wonder. I want to see how many French lifters get told to re-rack at Worlds. Because did you see that little document that came out stating like we need to be
Yeah,
stricter on the upright rule? How
yeah.
many
I'm
French
wondering.
guys get shafted?
It's always been, yeah. When I first started, like back in, and we're talking like 2008. I remember like you can't lean too forward, and I remember people being told to re-rack. This like way back. When I first started, I wasn't even in the IPF because the IPF was only equipped, and I was in like different. I bounced around all different smaller feds, but I remember people getting told to re-rack, and at some point we kind of got away from it, and I'm not sure. Like probably little small concessions, and then eventually people are, it's way far down the back. It's closer to the fulcrum of the lever being the hips. So I get it. I couldn't handle that with my shoulder mobility, but like if you can. So then things got to get tightened up and bring it back. Are you in favor of tightening up and bringing it back? And I guess you said you don't like it, but maybe that doesn't necessarily mean you think you should address it. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I don't think you should address it. I just don't like it from a lifter standpoint. I think that it limits late term potential. I think that like I don't think it's a coincidence that the French are always injured.
You think
I
it makes injuries?
I think it is definitely it doesn't help. I think that the way that they train in general doesn't lend itself very favorably towards long-term sustainable development. I think that we are going to see sort of an age of the French come about, and I think that might have already started to pass. I think that a
Whoa, you
lot
think
of
it's
them,
already started to pass?
the way that the way that they train and the way that they technically approach the lifts, it is very much like capitalize on the leverages, capitalize on short-term developments. Sort of like we're gonna learn how to grind really hard. We're gonna learn how to like maximize singles really hard, and we're going to set the bar very low on our back. But I don't think a lot of that lends itself well to building like hypertrophy, building mass, building long-term strength. Let's be frank. It's like who on the French team, I can think of one, looks jacked. And like powerlifters nowadays, you can kind of look at like the top dogs, they're all jacked. Aside from like Nicolas Peyraud, I'm pretty sure I butchered that last name. They
Mhm.
all look kind of
No,
Panache is jacked, but he's like a 66 who is like 5'8". So
he's
he has to be.
yeah, he's a jacked 6'6". No, there are like for instance, like he was at juniors, Rico Richmond,
Oh yeah,
Aiden.
Richmond Baden. We
He's
traded shirts. I have his shirt, he has my shirt.
dog, he's crazy jacked.
Yeah.
He's a jack foo, man. He's jacked.
But he doesn't train like a typical Frenchman. That
No,
sounds crazy to say, but he doesn't, you know?
it's different because him and Jad are in the same gym. Jad's pretty jacked. She's like under 5 feet and she's 57, 125. Like there's some jack. Leah's like yeah, like let me think. I mean, I don't want to go through the whole friggin' roster. There are some pretty jacked. The thing is, they don't all train the exact same. Coco also has a low bar, and he's pretty tall for 105, but he's also pretty jacked.
How's Coco jacked? He's big, but
I saw him with the shirt off. I don't know. I think he's pretty jacked. We'll
I was
see.
in the pool with him at Turkey. I was there.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. In the hot tub too. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. I don't know. It surprises me whenever any of them make any more progress than they already have.
The thing
And
is,
they've got to stop at some point. It just doesn't.
The thing is, it feels like right now they haven't crescendo and start coming back down. I don't like. There's no indication of them coming down yet, because if you look at this, put it this way, 40. But we're going to go into the women's side first. They're stronger on the women's for sure. They're good on the men's, but not like the women's. 47 Turbo Tiff as a 47. She's jacked. She's short, but she's pretty jacked. I don't know if you've seen her in real life yet. A lot of these people you're going to see in real life and have a different assessment, but she did 428.5 as a 47. So she's still like she's way ahead of everybody else as a 47. And we'll see what Jessica Espinal does though from USA. 52 Noemi Alibert as a 52 did 454, which is insane at Sheffield. Evie Corrigan did 460, which is crazy, but that's like her. She's going up like they're in the 52s. 57s. Jad Jacob just moved ahead as the number 157 in the world. Natalie Richards is coming. It's going to be an amazing battle, but Jad Jacob is, she's crazy good. 63s. Leah Bavois has moved up. Who do we got in the 63s? It's escaping me. Leah Bavois, obviously 69s. And Leah Bavois is, an absolute murderer. Don't got to tell you about that. Her 76s, we got Laura Matolin, and 84s, 84 pluses, Emily Mergier. Like they're still stacked, man. I think they're stronger year over year still.
I think that the females, like the French females being so dominant, supports my hypothesis, because female powerlifting, it's still, at least compared to male powerlifting, not in its infancy, but it's still developing a lot more, right? Like the population pools aren't as big. We are now starting to see a surge of like better female powerlifters because it's starting to become more of a thing. My hypothesis is that the strength ceiling of the French isn't as high as, let's say, traditional Western style lifters, but they reach a limit, like they reach a potential a little bit faster. So like they increase their strength faster, but the ceiling is lower. So with the females being a lower population class that's only just starting now to grow, you have these French lifters that are able to capitalize very quickly on their ability to grind out singles and on their leverages to the greatest of their ability. And you have a bunch of females blowing up a sudden amount without having a huge strength ceiling in a bunch of classes that just aren't popular. They aren't mature enough yet. They haven't really matured to like their upper echelons.
That's an interesting
I could
hypothesis.
be wrong. Yeah, it's a hypothesis. Like in 10 years, I could be the dumbest man alive.
Well,
I am now.
I wouldn't go that far. But it's interesting. I'll tell you what. You know who said something very similar? You're not going to believe this. Noemi Alibert was on the podcast, and I asked her, why is the women's French powerlifting just blowing up like it is? And she actually said, this is paraphrasing, obviously, but she said something to the effect of women's powerlifting is in a growth period and catching up, still on the way up. Whereas men's is more mature, like kind of, if we're talking like whatever. So she said, I think you're seeing like a more filled out from nation to nation. As more nations comes in, the talent pool swells. In France, you're seeing a swelling of more people hopping on board, but not necessarily where she somewhat deviates from what you said is not necessarily because I'm like, what are you guys doing in France? It's so special. And she's like, I don't know if we're doing anything so special so much as the popularization, more women entering, and it's a growth period, helps fill in gaps a little bit. And like powerlifting's blowing up. It's the whole, are they doing something necessarily differently? That's difficult to pin down only because, and this is an interesting discussion, it's difficult to pin down only because they're not all under the same coach, they're like, cause like friggin', from like Samantha Eugenie, you know her, 69 kilo junior.
Yeah. I mean, Leah's under TSG, isn't she?
Leah's TSG, Samantha's Joey Flex, freaking Noemi Aliber's under her coach Yusuf. I mean, whatever. Jacob is under Stanley. So they're all like under different coaches. Turbo Tiff's under Penna. So it's kind of and some of them aren't even American or French coaches. They're like yeah, to your point, you know, they're Canadians and Americans and whatever. Hey man, Canadian coach. So we could kind of claim Leah a little bit, right?
She's one of us.
She's one of us. She's one of us. I know what, you know, but so it's interesting. However, maybe as a culture, I don't know.
That's what I was going to say, is that I think that culture pervades through even coaching. Like a lot of US guys squat the same. Like I think, like, how many guys have you seen emulate Nori's lifts without ever being coached by Nori? One of the most notorious examples that feels maybe slightly racist, but I'm going to go into it anyways, is the Japanese. The Japanese aren't all coached by like the same guy, but they all have very, very similar techniques. I mean, they have the jab grip on bench, which is it's become notorious. People now like associate that like wide bulldog grip with like a lot of tension on like the pinkies and outer side, holding it like a katana. That's a Japanese thing. And I doubt it was one coach going along telling everybody to do it. I think culture just pervades because everyone's training in the same gyms ultimately. You're going to pick up similar cues off of people, even if they aren't, you know, on the same team or like coached by the same company, person, whatever. You still train together, right? Culture, it just does that, right?
Yeah, I guess it is true. A lot of those people I just named with different coaches are in the same gym.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
They're gonna develop similar styles.
I wonder. So, what do you think happens then in terms of 2-3 years from now? Do they plateau and US is back on top? Other nations rise up, or do they just mature as a nation, just like US did? Keep pace. What do you think it looks like?
I think if they keep on pace as they are now, they plateau. I don't know who takes the crown. You know, my gut instinct says the US because they always have. I'm a bit interested with like Taipei now that they're a country, just because they've always been pretty good at like these kind of sports. Look at weightlifting. I mean, I think, don't quote me, but I think this is their first year having an open team for Worlds, and they have some pretty big nominations. So I'm curious to see how Taipei evolves as a powerlifting nation coming up. But I do think that the French, staying focused, that the French just plateau if they stay course.
It'll be interesting to see to what nations got to like rises up.
Yeah,
Italy with Chiara Bernardi and Corolla Gara, and like they have some shooters coming up too. Like there's like this is what I like about Worlds is like the talent pool is spread, and you don't know who's going to show up. I just freaking man, Canada's got to get something together, man.
We've always had some big names, but
we do.
We've never had consistency. That's what we've lacked. We've had like Clifton Pha. We've had Bryce Krawczyk. We've always had Bittner. She's at least consistent.
She's our girl. She's a killer.
But we've never been able to consistently send teams. We send lifters almost.
That's right.
Like we always send a team, obviously, but like we have one or two flagship lifters, and that's it. We do need to send a more consistent rosters, I feel.
Do you think it's going to happen? Can you see that happening?
I don't see why it wouldn't, you know.
What does it take? Do we need somebody like a Russ to popularize it up here in Canada, or like how does this happen?
Man, it's such a multifaceted answer.
That's true.
There's so many things that go into that.
That's true.
Like I think I'm not involved, but I'm too aware of like the bureaucracy just on like the CPU that like I know that we're limited in population just because we don't have enough meet directors, right? Like if we can't run enough meets, we can't grow a sport, and you can't make people run meets. So there are so many factors that need to come into play before we start to develop as a more like competitive powerlifting nation beyond just like, we need more influencers. I honestly think we have a good amount of influencers. We have Luke Birmingham, we have Bittner, we have Damien the Fat Ass, we have I don't know. Is Jeff Nippard like Canadian? I don't
Yeah,
follow Jeff Nippard at all.
yeah,
Anyways, yeah, he's Canadian. That's strength
he's
esque
huge.
sports.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
I
huge.
mean, we have Matt Venna. We have who's that one guy's name? I took his deadlift record. I don't remember what his name is, but I took his deadlift record. He's like Matt Venna, but the other guy. We have a lot of influencers. I don't
Yeah.
think that that's an issue. The issue is we don't have enough meets. We need more meets. How
To
many meets does the US run like
to
per
your
day?
to your point, I was having a conversation with when PA was happening and they were talking about like, well, if this guy comes over, if that girl comes over, it'll help, which it will for sure. But I also said a much bigger issue will be meet directors coming over. Much more for a growth of a federation or a nation, to your point, is you need meet directors. The
Yeah.
PA can only grow so much, but they don't have competitions being run in
Yeah.
so many states and so many parts of the US. People like, I'm going to go where I can compete. Thank you very much.
It doesn't matter how strong you are if you can't compete. It's just it, and you can't get stronger unless you compete, frankly.
And someone needs to be like, I need to drive an hour. If
Yeah.
when you first start, that's all you care. You're going to go to whatever Fed has a competition within an hour of you. You don't care.
Oh yeah. When I went to my first meet where I registered a total where I broke my wrist, it was a
Yeah.
3.5 hour drive.
Good God.
That's
Good
normal
God.
for
Yeah,
us.
but you boys out west,
Alberta. Yeah,
that's right.
Alberta.
That's nothing.
Did you
That's
know
like,
we're the size of Texas?
really?
We're like 97% the size of Texas. I
Oh,
didn't know
God.
that. I thought that that was a normal drive because I make it all the time, like Calgary
Yeah.
to Edmonton. No, we're the size of Texas. The-
Albert is huge. I've been to Calgary. It's a good city. But yeah, you guys travel, man. Do you got to go to the washroom again?
yeah.
I don't. Do you want to take a pause?
Yeah, take a pause. Take a
Okay,
pause.
let's pause. I can tell. Now I read you, man. We've been talking so long. I read you like a book right now, Playboy. Okay, pause. Bang. Okay, we're back. Yeah, we're talking about Alberta and what we might need as a nation to grow. And then we were talking about how like the importance of meet directors. And it's true. I think I told the same person I was talking to, I would trade like 5 big time influencers for one meet director who's willing to put on like 5 meets a year, 6 meets a year, because that's a possibility of 100 people per meet. That's 600 people competing a year. It's important. It's way more important, as a matter of fact. Like meet directors are huge.
Yeah, you can recruit as many individuals that want to compete as possible. It doesn't matter if they can't compete.
Yeah.
So influencers sort of create a resource and then meet directors can take advantage of that resource if you want to just commodify people, right? They work very beneficially together. That's why I'm not anti-influencer by any means. I think that they're sort of important to the powerlifting ecosystem. But you can influence as many kids into lifting and powerlifting as you want. If there's no meet directors to take advantage of that vast resource, then I mean, they either don't compete or God forbid they go to like the WRPF.
And they will because they don't know. I talked to some kids who were like in all types of feds. When you first start, like us, we kind of forget. If you're listening to a powerlifting podcast, you're probably pretty deep into it, right? So we almost forget 90% of people who powerlift do one meet and never again. And then it drops way low for second meet, third meet, even lower. Most people literally just hop online, whatever competition is super duper close and couldn't care less. Tested, untested. The guy's like, I know I'm not on gear and I'm not showing up to win. I'm just going to show up. And like, so that's what it is. That's where if you want to get like memberships and people coming through the door and then you try to sell them when they get there and have them a good experience so they come back for another. That's why you need your freaking meet directors, man. It's yeah, it's big. All right, sir. Next name on the list, Jonathan Kaiko.
He's a fellow Filipino. Kuya, how could I say anything bad about him? I mean, he would be all about my esports idea we talked about hours ago. League of
Yeah.
Lifting, League of Legends. I don't know, he just seems like a cool guy. Honestly, he's pretty non-controversial. There's not a lot to talk about on him. He's like cool. Maybe he's a bit bland, a bit boring. He's just good.
I'll tell you what's not boring is his freaking, he's always in the back. That guy's,
Yeah, his fight against Gavin, specifically the camera angle, don't have to even like talk about it. Everyone knows. When I
yeah.
saw that happen in like on stream, I was like, I gotta screen cap this. It's gonna go viral. Forgot to. So there goes my little like
That would have been your TikTok, man.
That would have been my one reel that gets me going. Yeah, that was great. But yeah, Keiko, he's even even though he's Filipino, he's like vanilla ice cream. He's like ube ice cream then. He's just like he's enjoyable.
He's
He's good.
enjoyable.
He's what can you really say?
Enjoyable.
Yeah, he's enjoyable.
His literally like from since 2000, like once he came on the scene, he battled Gavin the first time they battled in 2021. He beat Gavin by I think either one on body weight or 0.5 kilos. Then he went to Worlds, battled Gustav in one, I think it was on body weight. Then he battled, like he's in a battle, always in a battle. And it always comes down to, and Gustav had the winning deadlift up like just past his knees. Gavin, like he had to outpull Gavin for the win. And again on Sheffield, right down to the very last deadlift. Like he's always in a sensational battle. Like he can't get away from like these scraps. I'm like, he's never had an easy win. He's like the opposite of like Russ, who wins by 20 kilos, or Taylor, who wins by whatever. He's like every single time it's going to come down to the last deadlift, and it's like, oh my god, he's done it again. And except for like South Africa, but even then he had the winning deadlift in his hands and he almost pulled it off, and it was an amazing battle. But even when he PA Nats, like he's always in a battle, man. It's he's like the real life Rocky. And his last podcast episode, when he came on after Sheffield, and he talked about he got deep, and he talked about like a friend. He talked about some gang violence, friend being murdered. Like it was crazy. He opened up. He's opening up more and more as he comes on the podcast. But he's a good guy, and you'll like him. You'll meet him in real life and everything. Have you met him in real life already?
No, I haven't met a lot of people in real life. I'm Canadian.
In your junior too. That's right.
Yeah, I'm a first year open Canadian. Who do I really meet in real life?
Yeah, that's all going to change in a couple of weeks, though, man. You're going to meet everybody.
They're all going to hate me.
Like, I heard the podcast, man. A lot of them
called me vanilla ice cream, and then changed it to ube.
You go, did you call me vanilla ice? You're like, no.
That's not exactly what I said. Although, like, I'll co-sign that. Yeah,
exactly. Bob Matthews.
Oh, if it wasn't for Austin Perkins, I'd call him the future. I love Bob. I think that his come up has been like so enjoyable to watch, because do you remember watching Bob back when he used to like do the dumbest shit ever? Like go on like a hoverboard and try to squat and stuff like that, or like balance board squat 405,
or doing crazy
squatting in socks and then slipping and having like 600 pounds toppled down on him and doing one arm push-ups in LA Fitness and everything. And then he was like, I want to focus on actually just powerlifting and getting strong. And now he's one of the greatest. It's the Bob era. Also, I like him because I'm in a bit of a feud with him over like who's the better deadlifter, like who's the better sumo hook grip deadlifter. And it was like,
dude, can you pick a fight then? Holy smokes.
We like I almost wanted, he was at one point he posted a story where he's like, is this the fastest 340 ever? And I was like, mine might be faster. And then I sent it to him, and I was like, I don't know. And then he put a side by side, and his was faster by like a good second. I was like, I'm so sorry. That's my bad, man. Hey, honestly, forget I said anything. That's my bad. but
I remember Bob when he's like doing stunt lifting essentially, and I remember, he's come so far, it's insane. He's come like his personality even then in videos came off totally different when you have him on a podcast now. He is like a different human being. It's the wildest. And I mean, what he's achieved as a lifter and what he could, like he every time he posts, he's like, these are my doubles. And it's like 900 plus kilos total. And he's the SBD day of doubles, 900 plus kilo. It's crazy what he's doing. It's like, I don't know the limit. I don't know if it's going to be him, Ashton, Perk, or who's going to be the kingpin in USAPL, who's going to win best lifter. Obviously, Bob won it last time. It's his to defend. It's his title to lose anyways, but he's in the conversation.
I'm team Bob. I like Bob.
He's a good guy. You have on the podcast. He's a good dude. He's one dude though. I don't know if I'm gonna meet him in real life, man.
I mean, yeah, we're IPF guys now, so like that schism.
Unless he crosses, over, unless he wants that Sheffy money. Unless that man, look at you see how much Jesus Oliveras made in one day? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I guess how many times does Bob gotta beat Ashton? No offense to Ashton, that sounded rude. How many times does he have to like how many times does Bob win before he's like, all right, let's move on. Let's do something else?
I mean,
I'm not saying he's won more than once, but like after twice, come on.
Like future wise, you might eventually be like, you know what? Where is this leading to? Where's the big pot of gold at the end? I mean, Ashton might come over as well. You know, there's nothing stopping Ashton from coming over either. And Ashton can pull this. Ashton can win too. You know, like we can't look past Ashton winning these shows because Ashton's more.
And there's more prestige now than ever in the IPF. It's no longer Worlds versus Raw Nats. It is now like Sheffield. It's a World Games. You know, have you heard that? Have you heard about the World Games?
Dude, I got that is insane. I can't even wrap my head around it. Like what going Raw did for the IPF, because like again, I predate the IPF being Raw. It was so much smaller. And then once the IPF went Raw, boom. I mean, kaboom. And it was exponential growth for so many years. And what could happen when World Games brings in Raw and all of a sudden we have like Jesus Oliveras and these World Games people, like the multi-sport event, you've probably seen the opening ceremonies and it's crazy what they do. And they're in athlete compounds and the whole nine, just like, you know, all these multi-sport events. When these people see Jesus Oliveras do his damn thing, and when they see that kind of stuff, because it's limited amount of athletes, so it runs quicker, limited amount of weight classes. So it's like a Sheffield almost. They just want all killer. They're like, we don't want to redo worlds. We want limited amount, and it's got to be all your biggest killers. That's what the World Game organ. So it's going to feel like a Sheffy. Throw Jesus, and people are going to walk away like, oh my God. We'll leave an impression, man.
It's the prime time of prime times.
Right.
At a stage too, where you're going to get a lot of mainstream eyes.
This is it. This is where the test is going to be, where it's like, because we got, and now the IPF, and I'm telling you, when they saw Sheffield and then this world is going to look different, they're changing up, you know, they're starting to pay attention and be like, And they also, there's a lot of steam and momentum behind Jesus Oliveras as a possible like flag bearer to bring people in. Like I listen to MMA and boxing podcasts, and they mentioned Jesus Oliveras. They're at Sheffield specifically and said, "Did you see that guy Jesus Oliveras? There was an event in Sheffield called Sheffield, and they're all talking. And these are MMA guys, and they're like crazy. It was crazy. He's like the strongest man of all time, and they're all like, he's the guy. When you have that, and you show up, so when he shows up and he's the flag bearer at the World Games and he's on stage, that's when you get normies who like don't super care, will be the next day talking about, oh my God, did you see that show? And it'll be a small show. You don't want to, people like, it sucks, they don't have a lot of weight classes. No, you don't want a lot of weight classes. You want all killer, like Sheffield. You just bring your hitters in and get them in and out. You only have like a day. You don't even want a day. You just want to wrap it up.
Don't even think about it like sport. Think of it like advertisement.
That's right.
Just trying to advertise powerlifting.
Murder it.
The best level. And I think that's kind of what would draw in Bob Matthews. Just because, look, I feel like someone that started stunt lifting likes the idea of a lot of eyes on him. There's no way you don't do like a 500-pound hoverboard squat for yourself. You do that for clout, frankly.
That was a personal goal of his. Bro.
Oh yeah, when I was a little kid, I really wanted to do a balance sport. No, he's doing that for clout.
Yeah.
So when you have the opportunity to go at like World Games, I think that's going to be something that like someone like Bob would go like, all right, done with the USAPL. I want the eyes on me.
When you think about a life experience, going to like the World Games, you see an open ceremony, being in the athlete compound with all these athletes from all these different sports now, and like, you know, the whole thing. And by the way, you also have the World Championship. Open Worlds is going to be crazy, and you're going to love it. And I'm glad you're going. We'll have a ball. And then because Junior Worlds was fun afterwards. But so
getting kicked out of the pool.
Dog. But then Sheffield on top of that. So there's World Games and Sheffield, and God knows what's going to happen in the future. man, it's yeah, there's opportunities. We'll see what people do. The one of the biggest things I could do if I could wave a wand is just we all go back to being under the same banner
Yeah,
and not
it's
dilute.
a good time to be part of the IPF though, for the most part.
I mean, there's
We have
always
some
going to be
things.
there's
We have
always
some issues, but
there's
whatever.
there's always things. As long as there's always things. All right, man. I got one more for you. This is the last one, dog. I don't even know how long we've been talking. How long has this podcast been? I don't
Who
even know.
knows?
Who knows, dude? We had a false start. We had a couple pee breaks, but it is what it is. We get
We're
there.
got a
The
lot of technical issues.
technical issues, but the conversation's been fire, man. The conversation's been fire, so I appreciate it. Well worth it. Last one, Sean Noriega.
I want to say he's my friend. However, I'm worried that he'd be like, I'm not friends with him. But
Why would he say that? Why do you think he's
I don't know. No, I love Sean. I think he's always been my favorite sort of underdog lifter. I think if you're ever going to use the term, he's like a powerlifter's powerlifter, I think about Sean. It's like he's involved in the sport. He's down to pick apart like the gritty nuance of it to his detriment. We've talked about this, like being overly neurotic. It helps others. It doesn't help you. I think that the best powerlifters on the planet are non-neurotic people. Like they just go in and lift. I think that like Atwood is like that. Russ is like that. Like the best lifters are just like you get under the bar and you lift. Who cares about the rest of it? Sean isn't like that. I think it ruins him as a lifter, but it makes him a great coach and it makes him a great powerlifting resource. And I know he's a controversial character, but I also think that he's been foundational to the growth of the sport. I think that he's given rise to a sort of genre of powerlifter, if you will, that is overly analytical, is willing to, do the smallest tiny things for the tiniest little percentages of winning. And for that, I always wish him all the best. I know that's controversial. I know he's not a liked person in powerlifting. I know that he's sometimes he's a tough pill to swallow, He's outspoken. He's a bit political, He's a bit fun. I like that though. I like people that are willing to say whatever they want. So I am a fan of Sean, if not a friend.
I like how you go. Sometimes he's a tough pill to swallow, but he is. Look, he's not dull. That's for sure. He'll have some opinions that'll get people stirred up a little bit. But he's a phenomenal lifter and he's been around for like a hot minute. I remember him like back in 2017 Junior Worlds in Belarus, controversial battle with Deuce Gruden.
With Deuce Gruden, yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking man, he's been around me. He's been in so many good battles throughout the years, and he's still here. He's a good coach too. But you know what's crazy? I thought about the other day. There was a point when Sean Noriega, Russell Orhe, John Hack, and Joey Flex had a podcast together. Is that not the craziest mix of people now?
Yeah, and they had all the Avengers references.
Yes, they were they were like Avengers dudes. But that is so crazy to think about now. And I forget what sparked but those four guys had a podcast together. I can't picture that.
Foundational to the sport. Like we stand on the shoulders of titans or giants, whatever the term is. I don't remember. But yeah, he's one of, I don't want to say the forefathers of like raw lifting, but he's got to be up there. He's almost like a second era Candido. If that makes sense. Respect to Candido as well. I'm friends with both of them to an extent, but like I think that Candido got a lot of guys into it, and then a lot of guys that like Candido got into the sport sort of then moved on to like Sean, where it's like, Sean was not going to get anybody into the sport, but he's going to like help evolve you as a lifter into like the nitty gritty of it. You know what I mean?
And they're friends. They talk
they're
often.
Good friends. They're good friends.
Yeah. Candido at one point, like he was a huge driving force. Look, when he was a junior, he was at IPF Worlds. I think he got a silver. I don't think he won, but he was on the podium like he was a world class. Silver, yeah, he was world class and freaking. He
got beat up by Gibbs, didn't he?
Oh shit! Did he lose to Gibbs? That's. I mean, no shame in that.
It was Gibbs. Yeah.
If it was Gibbs, then frick, no shame in that, man.
Or was it Gibbs or was it another New Zealander?
It might have been Gibbs because I know Gibbs won Junior Worlds went into open and won open worlds the very first year. And Gibbs was like, he was a titan at one point. And then Hack came and it was an amazing battle. Then Russ and him.
Was it Hubbard?
Man, I think we got to pull this up now, Don.
I'm trying to remember the video. I remember the video of Johnny editing the laser eyes onto Hubbard as Hubbard loses his sumo pull. That doesn't say who won.
Are we thinking 2015?
No, I'm thinking
14.
It was South Africa Worlds. Like it was in South Africa, I'm pretty sure.
Well, let's take a look here.
I want to say 2016, 20. Yeah,
2016. Won't be 16 is Colleen. It was the year before I was there. Let's take a look at the. All right. This. I got 2015 up. Let's take a look at the juniors. 83s. Okay. Well, what the hell is this? This is sub juniors. Okay. Well, that's not gonna work, is it? Juniors. 74, 83. Owen Hubbard first, Candido second. You're right. It was Hubbard.
My brain.
Well done.
My brain works.
Well done. Canada's own Michael Providza coming in fifth.
I don't even remember who that was.
Okay. Well,
shout outs to him though.
Yeah. In this so I guess I think this year actually Brett Gibbs won the Open in 2015. Let me double check this just for my own. Brett Gibbs won the Open.
All right.
There it is. Okay.
Candido was, he was at least one of the first powerlifters I got into. He was one of my first influences into the sport. And then, that evolved into Nori. So I love them both. Both great guys. I know Johnny Candido was not the next name on the list, but great guys.
No, he wasn't. But he was instrumental he still is, but for a long time, he was the guy putting out that content on YouTube. Very well edited videos, a character. He's funny, informative, also competitive, and was a coach. He might still be coaching as well. So he could wrap it all up. You know what I mean? Which was important at the time. And he was super strong as well. So he was a huge piece.
One of the founding fathers of raw lifting, as far as I'm concerned.
And he also, 2016, my first year commentating, and it was the Hack versus Gibbs.
He jumped in.
Super Showdown. He jumped in for commentary. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. And I'll always remember that moment. I'll always remember my first Worlds. I'll always remember Hack Gibbs, and I'll always remember Johnny coming in. I don't know if I've seen Johnny since, but
I think any powerlifter worth their salt should remember the Gibbs Hack battle. It's still fun to watch to this day. My brother, who has no interest in powerlifting, really watches that sometimes.
Really?
I showed it to him once, and he was like, "Yeah, this is hype. It's crazy."
It was I so many firsts. I've said this before on the podcast. So some people all right, me say this every time this comes up, but so many firsts happened for Hack Gibbs. I was controlling the IPF Instagram, and for the first time, social media was weaponized the hype in the form of I had King of Lifts and IPF at the same time at my helm. And every single week I would post Brett's and John's. And if they did triples both that week on squat, I would post on the IPF page, here's John's, here's Hacks. And everybody would be like, John's looked a little better, or, Hacks, whatever. And I would continuously hype like that. But before that, it never did, because I followed the IPF, and that's why I approached them. It's how I got on media team. I'm like, we can do better on social media to help hype battles. And then the first time social media was truly weaponized the hype. And then SBD for the first time actually did photo shoots with them staring each other down in studio like boxers gonna box with arms crossed. First just staring each other down, then arms crossed like this. And it was all posters. You show up at the IPF event, life-size posters of these guys staring each other down. It was crazy hype. And we'd never seen that before. So the lead into it felt like no other. And I was telling the fellas on the media team all week, that's the one. That'll be the battle. Trust me. When it came, standing room only, weeks on the IPF social media in King of Lifts, I've been hyping this. So I knew. I stacked the deck on this. And then for the first time, they said to me, Six, you've been hyping this all week. we've never done this before. Give us a 2-minute intro on why this is a special showdown. And they turn the cameras in, and they never done this. For the very first time, turn the cameras in on the commentator. And I gave the speech where I'm like, this is our Ali Frazier. This is our Sampras Agassi. And I told the significance of what this was. And then I go, and it's about to happen right now. And then they cut to the platform, and here we go. And it was, and we had, again, Special Candido came in, who was like the junior 83 and whatever, and like a star on social media. So we had like a star commentator. So many firsts happened with Hack Gibbs. And for other people now who maybe came in the game too late and it already happened, it was before their time or years have passed. That's what made it so special, and it propelled. Oh, by the way, the winner ended up being a GOAT, and GOAT gets tossed around a lot, but legitimately,
yeah,
one of the right.
Hack is amazing.
Hack is Hack. The fact that Hack ended up being who he is makes it better. If both guys fizzled out, it would have been like, all right. The fact that Hack went on to be a GOAT, and then Brett,
and then Gibbs was the first one to total 830 at 83.
10-time body weight. You're right.
Heaviest 10 times body weight at the time. I mean,
had another first 10 times body weight 83, and also had another sensational rival with Russell Orhe, who ends up being the biggest star. So his name, even though injuries plagued him and he had to leave, his name is now forever linked with John Hack and Russell Orhe. And he beat Russ the first time. Russ had to rally back, and Russ, like, it was they had a rivalry going, and he was on all of the posters for the original Sheffield. So they have their placement, both of those men. So the fact that, I mean, that was a special one, man. When I date back, like, I can get into debates with people like there were better showdowns because this guy had a better resume and this guy had a better resume. It was tighter. And I'm like, but the amount of firsts that made that significant, is what it was.
It was the presentation of it.
Yeah.
Like, when I look back on that, I don't think, oh, that was one of the greatest showdowns. I'm like, this is just what powerlifting can be. This is what it should be. This is what we should aspire to. These kind of like storylines culminating into like something that lives up to it. Like, this is how exciting powerlifting can be. We should just aspire to recreate this to the best of our abilities as much as possible.
And people use that expression, like, this guy walked so you could run, like blaze the trail. That showdown blazed the trail with all the firsts I named. It set the tone. So now we take for granted, like, showdown comes, use social media to hype it, of course. Yeah, like podcasts and all that. Yeah, of course. You do a lead in. No, but it doesn't. It's of course now because it had to happen first, right? Like, it's of course now because it worked. And SBD, now doing Sheffield, SBD got behind a particular showdown. Like, a particular showdown. Let's focus on this. Like, and now, yeah, of course, you get behind showdowns like that. This was the first, man. It was, and then these guys now are legendary, dog. It's one thing our sport doesn't do great is honor people who have gone, like previous champions, or honor significant moments. We don't do it great.
It looks bad for the IPF to like gas up, say, Hack. It's like Hack is now
right.
He's juiced up. He doesn't support the same values of the IPF and everything. So I understand that. They could support Gibbs, I guess, more, but I can understand why they're not too keen on that. There's also so much new talent coming in all the time that, like, if you're trying to support like the old greats along with like the new coming up, maybe that's just too many names for people to like think about all the time. We could potentially have like a greater emphasis on like a Hall of Fame, like a Hall of Fame athlete inductee every year. That'd be cool.
An event like the UFC honors fights, like that fight, and bring in both participants or whatever. Even event wise, if you're like, let's honor the showdown that was and talk about it, and like stuff like that. Like, and when I say we, you're right, like the IPF themselves, but also just us as a community. Sometimes, like, other sports, again, I'm not big on other sports, but I hear my buddies get drunk and debate who's the greatest quarterback of all time, and you fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. And I do. Yeah, Marino never won a Super Bowl, but look at his stats, and I debate the same with like boxing and MMA, but we don't necessarily. I feel like we as a community aren't super big on it. We're sometimes a little better with podcasts because, like, look at us now. Someone tunes in, you're a young guy, you're 23. Someone tunes in who missed some of this. just off the name game, they're going to hear about like, what Candido did, what Brett did, whatever. It helped. We do some, just maybe not quite enough. I don't know. I forget who reached out to me. I think it might have been Matt Gary, and talked about maybe doing a segment every now and then about reliving some past people. And I was like, it's not the worst idea. Not like every time. Every now and then, if it flies. It depends on presentation.
I mean, with the King of the Lifts page, you could always repost it. Like you could always just repost like the old like Gibbs hack battle.
I do sometimes, and that I do. I'll rally back, and even like Mark Henry, the guy who was a WWE wrestler. He was a powerlifter in the 90s and an Olympian.
And a strong. Yeah,
he was strongman. Yeah, he did
one of the most prolific strength athletes that never really was.
Yeah, it's crazy. What he's like, 2-time Olympian. He held all the records in powerlifting. Like he was the Jesus Oliveros of his day. And then the inaugural Arnold Classic, which had the world's strongest man in there, like the Arnold Classic, is huge for strongman. And he won that and beat the reigning world's strongest man in a strongman competition. So he was like, people like the pro wrestler, I'm like, oh yeah. Like he legitimately was like the strongest man in the world. Like they called him that in WWE and they're like, that's real. I'm like, he legitimately could have staked that claim for a couple years there. He'd be like, I was the strongest powerlifter in the world and beat the reigning world's strongest man. So in strongman. So it is what it is. He didn't do great in the Olympics, but he made it anyways. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
And then he was a wrestler, which is the most prestigious title of them all. It's cool. I like wrestling.
I'm not huge are you a wrestling guy? Yeah, you probably do appreciate it.
Conceptually, I like it. I don't follow it. I don't follow most of anything, but conceptually, I'm a fan of wrestling.
You know what's interesting? I know exactly what you're talking about. I like the fact that there are baby faces and heels. I read their autobiographies, which are fascinating. I like Shawn Michaels' autobiography, Brett Gibbs' autobiography, freaking amazing. Like, I mean, the lifestyles they live, the stories they tell, dude, it's crazy. And I do like the storylines and how a baby face can turn heel later on in the career or vice versa if you need to make a change or whatever. All of that. And these are terms that we use, heel and baby face. But like cool. Russ turned from babyface to heel, essentially, like what we're saying. But anyways, listen, dog, we had a pretty good conversation.
Yeah, who knows how long it was? Who knows who will actually make it to the end? Who knows?
the thing with podcasts, it's not a YouTube video. People stick because if you want audio, they'll pop it in and they're driving to work or they'll revisit it. The retention rate's big because people come up to me all the time and talk about shit that was way deep in it. So yeah, don't worry about that, man. We're all good. I appreciate you, man. Is there anybody, if people want to get a hold of you, whether coaching or I give a shout out to sponsors, anything you want to say?
I answer 99.9% of my DMs on Instagram and .manders. Shout outs to Hansu Power as well as SPD for supporting me in my powerlifting and everything that they do. Really great companies, really great products. Shout out to Kings as well and like the whole Kings family there for directly supporting my training, giving me an environment to train in and all that. I don't know. That's about it.
Dude, you got to come back. This has been a good conversation. You got some spicy takes, man.
Yeah, invite me whenever, and I'll get more comfortable with it. Maybe I'll develop into a heel one day, lose the 2 sponsorships I just discussed where they're like, we don't want you anymore, you're too controversial, and then I'm just a dead man walking. I'll say anything. Unchained.
but damn, are you going to have some fire podcasts? Okay. Yeah, man, the door is always open. We'll do this again. I'll see you in a few weeks in Malta. And good luck.
We'll do a podcast in Malta. Let's get wine drunk because wine there is as cheap as water.
Right. Those get dangerous. I've had drinks and done podcasts. They get you're pretty loose without them. But I mean, if you got some drinks in you, holy shit.
Yeah. Release the podcast while we're drunk, and then when we sober up later, listen to it. Review it. We can't have this. We gotta take this off.
That's right. That's when Gaston, Benjamin Banks, everyone who's in Malta is like, "Can we talk to you a second? About that podcast you just dropped? Yeah, can we talk real quick?" Because anyways, well, listen, man, appreciate you coming on. Good luck with training, man. You're gonna do us all proud. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And everybody listening, please do subscribe, give us high ratings, post it up in your stories. I'll repost as long as I see it. Bear with me. Sometimes I get freaking spammed with those. And until next time, 6-pack Lapadat, 6 up, and we are out.